cannot hit that high and inside pitch, even when it's a baby reveal. If you haven't seen that video, please go check it out.
Did you see the video with his career heat map overlaid?
Thank you, Pitching Ninja.
You got it. She's got to put that low and away for. I mean, it's Big Poppy.
I love that his heat map is there, and it is so bright blue, high and inside, and that's where she tosses it underhand as high and inside, and he swings through it, and then everybody pops the colors.
What color was it, Jason?
Blue.
It was blue. She threw it into the blue part
right.
of his heat map, and then he swings and maybe she wanted to strike him out. Maybe she said, here by the heat map, you figure out we're gonna go pink or bluish, reddish, whatever. We're gonna go and up and in. It's a boy.
I just love that and then he immediately, he doesn't even see like the confetti coming out. He just immediately turns around to go pick up the ball. Like, no, let's do it again. One more try.
That's what 100% where I would be mentally. No, let's run this back. Please, nobody tweet this.
Have we seen baby reveals of somebody swinging that have actually worked out? Because I've seen 2 of them, and one of them was this, to where he swung and missed, but they threw the confetti.
Yeah.
The other one was a big ball that had the smoke in it, and that person swung and missed, and the ball hit the ground and popped.
Yeah, that's
and it was
great
pink.
point.
I've only seen 2 of them, and maybe that's because those 2 didn't work out, and that's why I've seen them.
Let me
Sure.
Let me ask this. We can marinate on this for a while because I don't know what my answer would be. But if there was some sort of equivalent that you're like, hey, Jason, we're gonna do a gender reveal for your surprise 3rd child. Congratulations, Jason!
You watch your dirty mouth.
I'm sorry.
Go wash your mouth out with soap.
I will
Go
actually. I did not mean to put that evil on you.
Soap poisoning.
But you are going to get to pick the thing that requires some modicum of skill. But you could pick anything in the world. For David Ortiz, it was hitting a baseball. But there are 2 people that are dependent on that there. If you were like, here's what I'll do, honey. I'm going to throw to a break, and then you hit the button, and then it's going to say it's a boy or it's a girl. Well, it still depends on Kaylin hitting the right button at the right time. It's taken Dylan months to figure out how to do that. So, I mean, there's a degree of difficulty. Sorry, Dylan, that was unnecessary.
That was a random L for no reason.
Total shrapnel, Dylan. I apologize. But I don't know what it would be. Like, I would, if it was
Mine's
like
easy.
Okay,
shoot a free throw.
Okay, man. I would freak out. I would be freaked out that you can't brick your baby.
Typically, that is wrong.
Imagine bricking your baby.
Yeah, the baby's not there yet.
But forever, he or she is cursed.
Is that right? David Ortiz's child is cursed?
Lil Poppy cannot play baseball.
Sorry, Lil Poppy.
Cannot play baseball.
Could be a rapper, though.
That is also Isaiah Pacheco's nickname.
Lil Poppy.
So that I think.
I thought it was Pac.
There's a whole one of Isaiah Pacheco's nicknames. Good point. Man, I would not. I don't know that I would have the confidence to do anything athletic.
By the way, they were talking about it on New Heights, but it reminded me that all of the different tweets about what Isaiah Pacheco looks like when he's running.
Yes.
He looks like a cartoon character. I love the one when it was Isaiah Pacheco looks like the kid trying out new shoes at the store.
That was new to me this week. That's a
so
instant classic.
Good. Pacheco looks like he's constantly fighting the ground.
The kid, I remember testing shoes like that.
Pacheco runs like he bites people.
That was also stupendous.
Runs like a person that would bite somebody.
He runs like a kid trying out new shoes at the Payless. The kid who has a leash, not currently being held by his mom, but that is free running behind him because he may bite your child.
Was it, and I think Travis Kelce brought this up, but it was Ace Ventura when Nature Calls Tommy Davidson when he jumped out of the backpack to fight. You don't know this one because you haven't seen it.
I just saw Christmas Vacation, yeah.
But yes, Tommy Davidson, he jumps out of the backpack, and I believe he's either naked or wearing just something, not a lot of linen on him.
I think we've talked about the Tasmanian Devil one. I think we had brought that up, and they loved that one on New Heights.
He does look like the Tasmanian Devil.
He looks like all of them. It's truly amazing that pretty much all of these have a very high hit rate.
Absolutely. So all of that to say, we'll talk with Cynthia Freeland coming up at 11 o'clock and get her thoughts also on the Ravens. What's going on with them? Are they just playing at this level? Are they playing hot right now? Are they doing anything different, or is this just what the Ravens offense would have looked like if they put playmakers around Lamar Jackson before? They finally have done that. This is the difference of what an offense can look like with playmakers and without playmakers. The Ravens, that great example of, hey, you can run the ball and play really good defense, but can you do anything in the playoffs? Hey, what if we put playmakers around Lamar Jackson, who's going to win his second MVP? Hey, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl now. Doesn't mean they will. Still got to go and prove it in the playoffs. We'll talk to her about that. And what the heck's going on with the Eagles? Because It doesn't seem that long ago when the Eagles and Chiefs were getting ready for Monday Night Football, and they were combined 14-3. And we asked Field Yates, is this a Super Bowl rematch or a Super Bowl preview?
Mm-hmm.
The teams are combined 5-7 since. Chiefs are 3-3, and the Eagles are 2-4.
It's wild.
Since that game, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games. The Eagles are, but they're 2-4 because they won the next week against Buffalo, in comeback fashion, in dramatic comeback fashion. That they were able to do that just as they were against the Chiefs, and Buffalo could not get a final score. Of course, Eagles won in overtime. Chiefs could not get there because there was a drop pass by a wide receiver that hit him in his hands, not in his nipple. We're talking about MVS, obviously.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yes, talking about MVS. So we'll hear from the Chiefs. We'll talk with Cynthia Freeland. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Before we get into some of the New Heights clips that are there, and what I think might be the new anthem for the Chiefs moving forward, that's my prediction.
Okay.
My prediction is that's what's going to happen, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about the NFL officiating memo video that they put out. They really are allergic to saying, yeah, whoops. You know what? We might be able to do better in this situation. You know what? There's blame to go around, and we accept our portion of said blame. A lot of people played a role in this. We are included in people category. We are part of people that played a role. They are allergic to doing that. They refuse to accept any responsibility whatsoever. And they put out the memo, reporting memo to the league of what is the proper protocol for an offensive lineman that is an ineligible number to go and report that would be an eligible receiver. And it's about 2 minutes long, and it is only the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys of them reporting, talking about what they have to do. Then it's then they even discuss when an eligible when an offensive lineman reports as eligible, they then must line up in an eligible receiver's spot, and then it circles number 70. It's there. Do we have that clip to play? Let's hear that real quick. And this is sort of this is my point that I made last night. That the NFL, while refusing to accept any responsibility, did in fact throw Brad Allen under the bus. So this is about 17 seconds about what is required for a player to be deemed an eligible receiver.
It is the responsibility of the player to be sure that change in status is clearly communicated to the referee by both a physical signal with his hands up and down in front of his chest and to report to the referee his intention to report as an eligible receiver.
What they don't realize in making sure they're clarifying that you must have a physical signal wiping your jersey up and down while also verbally telling the official for you to be deemed eligible is actually pointing out that number 70 didn't either. He did not wipe his jersey, nor did he say anything to Brad Allen, yet he was deemed eligible as an eligible receiver. They are not taking responsibility, but even in their description, they are saying, well, yeah, the referee got it wrong because it's on you. It's your responsibility, player, to do this. Okay, that player didn't do that. So what happens if a player just runs in number 70, who's running in towards the huddle, and Brad Allen looks at him and is like, all right, because he raises his hand, number 70 does, he raises his hand, and as he raises his hand, an offensive lineman turns around and then runs out. Or a wide receiver or somebody. He raises his hand, that guy runs out. So, hey, we're in a different formation here. So if he's running on and raising his hand and Brad Allen goes, okay, cool, number 70 is reported eligible. Now, mind you, there have been so many videos that are out that are lining things up. So you've got now you've got the full 22 or whatever with audio. So you see when Brad Allen announces number 70 is reported as eligible. They are in the huddle. They are getting ready to break. Jared Goff, because there's a loud crowd going. Jared Goff is yelling the play while Brad Allen says number 70 is reported as eligible. Right after he does that, they clap and go break. You think they're listening in anything but Jared Goff? You're in the huddle. You are blocking out all noise. Jared Goff, here's the play call. What's it on? What sound? What's the can, right? If we have to kill this play, is there something else we go to on this 2-point play? What are we doing here? And Brad Allen announces, so would the players have even known? Now the coaches could have come over and called timeout. The confusion was part of the play. The ruse was part of the whole thing. But he never reported eligible, and he was deemed eligible. So if that happened, it was an illegal formation, which they did throw a flag on, by the way. Because they showed the view from the opposite side, and the official on that side, when the snap happened, runs in and throws the flag of an illegal formation. There were 2 flags on the play. They didn't acknowledge one of them. They just acknowledged the illegal touching of an ineligible receiver touching the football. But the NFL doubling down constantly that when you've got Gene Steratore and you've got Dean Blandino, Mr. Dean Blandino, that have come out and both said, yeah, Brad Allen was on cruise control. Yeah, it's on the official. No, that's perfectly fine. Gene Steratore and Dean Blandino both said the Lions did nothing wrong. The Lions, because people are talking about, and I do understand this point, Josh, of you're relying on confusion with a group of guys that are inept.
Right.
And you're relying on confusing the defense while also hoping that the group of guys who have proven to be inept throughout the year, that they will understand your confusion because you told them something 3.5 hours before. Well, 90 minutes before the game. Right. So 4.5 hours ago, you told them something that was going to happen here on this final play in a 2-point conversion or whatever may take place. And you want them to be fully aware of what's going on. So is there a modicum of responsibility there for the Lions? Sure, but when ex-referees come out and go, Lions did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong.
The argument that you should know that the referees are not going to be good at their job, I understand because we've been watching football for not just this season, but for many seasons.
Because we watch football.
I understand where that comes from. I understand saying, look, I mean, the Lions were running a deceptive play that ended up deceiving the referees as well, right? I understand all of that. But the NFL, as we have a 17-second version of, as we have a 2-minute version of, as we have 25 years of, the NFL at every turn, when Andy Reid gets fined or where MVS doesn't get the DPI, or in this situation, the NFL has been telling us over and over and over again, no, the referees are doing a great job. These are human beings, but they're human beings who get it right. And in this instance, we will scold the Lions as an example here for something that, as you have pointed out, only damns them more.
Yeah.
Because by the letter of the law, the referees screwed this up. By the analysis of the former referees who speak on it now, guys who I have seen fade away from the company line a few times this year, but not guys looking to embarrass current referees as former referees.
And guys who have worked with Brad Allen before.
Yes.
I don't know if they hate him, don't have a relationship, but that was a colleague for a long time for both Dean Blandino, Gene Steratore especially, because he's recently retired.
And I think Steratore in particular has maybe done the best job. Really, all of these guys I think have done better. Blandino's done better, and the third one whose name is escaping me right now.
Which one it is.
But I do think they've gotten better at being willing to say, hey, this is a hard job, but here's where they messed up, because that's important to the viewing audience. It wouldn't do me any good for them to be 100% defensive or 100% attacking of referees, right? You either have an axe to grind or you won't criticize your boys. None of that's helpful. But when you have video evidence, audio evidence, former referee evidence, the entire working knowledge of how this process works, the Lions talking about it before the game, you can treat the refs with kids' gloves, and you can do the whole thing that Dylan played. Was it a Bill Walsh clip that you played right after all of that, where Bill Walsh is saying, like, yeah, blame the referees. They suck, but we have to overcome them. Like, they are bad at their jobs, but we must be good at ours. Yeah. I respect that from a coach's perspective. But if you're the National Football League, your referees being competent in situations of objectivity is mandatory. Subjective calls, it happens. You miss a face mask. You miss a DPI. You miss a hold. You call an offsides that you probably shouldn't have. on some level, there's human subjectivity. And here, the Lions followed the protocol, and the referees let them down, and the NFL is siding with the refs again. And I think this one's going to do some damage. I think this will have, not for the popularity of the league, but the trust between teams and referees. I wonder if the NFL doesn't make some changes. I wonder if it's going to get more openly hostile, and they'll just say, and you're just going to have Dan Campbell taking $50,000 fines, $100,000 fines that then the Ford family pays for because they may have lost home playoff games because of this. That's unacceptable.
If they win that one, they'd be locked into the 2 seed. And if San Francisco were to lose to the Rams this weekend and Detroit beats Minnesota, they would be the 1 seed.
I mean,
instead, if Dallas wins against the Commanders, so Dallas has the division and the number 2 seed on the line if they win against the Commanders this weekend. That means the Lions will be the 3 seed. And if both Dallas and Detroit win their first round, Detroit heads to Dallas instead of Dallas heading to Detroit based on that call.
And who in football has had the most extreme home road split by the eye test, by the number? That's been huge. It's been huge.
And Jared Goff.
For both of those teams.
Yeah.
The Cowboys can't win on the road.
100%,
and
yeah.
I was thinking the Cowboys, but you're right, too. Those are the 2 teams in football.
You're thinking the Cowboys. I was thinking like Jared Goff's performance.
Yes.
Home and road,
yes.
what he's done. A little better lately, but
Goff at home is a real thing, and the Cowboys on the road is a real thing.
Great point.
And that's going to flip on Brad Allen. That's crazy.
Yes. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I'll see it when I believe it, as Patrick Mahomes would say, that the NFL will do anything different with the officials because the NFL is afraid of the union.
I don't think there are going to be changes. I think there's going to be vitriol. That's the next phase in this.
The change is the NFL is going to go, oh, cool. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Watching the NFL is rigged. And I know that because I watch every game. And I bet on them. And I know it's rigged because every single game I'm watching. And I'm not going to watch anymore until Saturday. I will not watch another NFL game. I am done with the NFL until Saturday. Okay? Until I see these 2 games come. 3:30 on Saturday is when I will finally end my strike. But not before then.
What's the first game on Saturday? 3:30 on Saturday?
Colts Texans, or is
no,
it Steelers
it's actually
Ravens?
Steelers Ravens. You know who else you're going to see at 3:30 on Saturday? Bradley Allen.
That's right. He's the official for that game.
He is back. He'll be the first referee you see this weekend.
Standalone game.
Oh.
Go get him, Brad.
Have a good one.
Don't worry, there's no postseason implications on the Ravens-Steelers game at all. Although it would be hard for him to referee a game with 0 postseason implications since there are so many games this weekend. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will talk about the Chiefs, some things we're seeing. And I also want to get into a conversation of reason versus excuse. Like, what's the difference between that, and how can it be used or applied to the Chiefs this year? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we'll talk with Cynthia Freeland coming up at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from Andy Reid today at about 11:50 or so. The New Heights podcast, Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, they did not talk about what Travis Kelce's plan will be for this Sunday. He needs 16 yards to surpass 1,000 yards receiving. 8th straight year. It is a pretty significant milestone for him to have. Jason Kelce saying, you guys are locked into the 3 seed, and we'll see what you guys do in resting or whatever, how he phrased it. So I think there was a clear discussion that, hey, I'm not talking about whether I'm playing or not. Let's go around the room. Do we believe Kelce's already made a decision one way or another if he's playing or not? I believe yes. Could be wrong, but I believe at this point on a Wednesday when they're practicing that Kelce knows if he's playing on Sunday or not. Whether they let anybody know about specifically Travis Kelce, I think he's already made – well, maybe they will let us know and say he's playing. But I think he's already made a decision himself.
I think he has to. I think part of the idea of treating this as a bye week is not grinding Chargers films on a Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes.
Like, they should know. The game wasn't locked up last week enough to just be like, we're getting the ball back and we're going to just hunt for Trav for 16 yards. But, man, I wish I would have gotten that out of the way.
Would have been nice, a 16-yard game.
But I bet that, and also playing in week 1, he would have it. But he's also been very close for many games now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have to have a decision made up. I don't know what I think that decision is. I think what I want, stupidly, I think I want Andy Reid to come out today and say, yeah, we'll it'll be Blaine, but we'll go ahead and we'll let Trav out there to go ahead and try to catch a couple passes, whatever, something like that, and just keep it moving that way. That's what I want to hear, but I'm not even sure that they would say that, even if that's the plan.
Yeah, Dylan, you think Travis Kelce himself has already made a decision one way or another?
He's made a decision that he wants to play.
Really? Okay.
I don't know if Andy has made that yet.
So you think he's made the decision that he wants to play? Yes. He's going to play this weekend.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever he wants to do. If he wants to play, great. Go get the 16 yards. If he doesn't want to play, great. Go rest your old body and the mind. And you guys look tired out there at times and maybe mentally exhausted. And it's a great point, Josh, about part of getting the week off is also we always talk, the bye week, is it better physically or mentally? Getting that break mentally of not having to prepare and go through the grind and just tearing through film every night and during the day and meetings and everything. That now during the bye, it's just sort of maintaining. You get a few days off, you rest your brain, you maintain your fitness level, you do some running and some things like that, maybe some lifting, and then all right, you get back into it the next week. Maybe you go to Argentina. Different things you might be. Maybe you get written permission from your coach first. Apparently, that was a big thing.
He does have over 11,000 yards in his 11 seasons, including the season where he had 0 yards as a rookie. So even including that one in there, like his first 2 years before hitting the 1,000-yard marks were just under 900 in 2014 and 2015. Like, the stats will remain impressive.
Yeah.
But if it's not this year. If he doesn't get it this year, I think you assume that his last 1,000-yard season was last year, because the idea of it ticking back up again next year seems a little more unlikely, and depending on what his usage ends up being, also depending on what his playing time plan is, which we've sort of tiptoed around a few times so far this year. But I'd like to see him get to 1,000.
I would too.
I would also like to see him rejuvenated for a wild card game.
Drive number 1, Blaine Gabbert, Travis Kelce. It's just. Let's throw some Travis Kelce plays out there. Blaine, you are staring at Travis Kelce.
I think that's what it is.
You're either going to hand off to LaMichael Pirine or you're staring at Travis Kelce. Let's hear from Andy Reid. So we'll hear from him coming up about an hour and 10 minutes from now. I joked yesterday that, hey, we'll hear from Andy Reid tomorrow and we'll hear everything we want to hear from Andy Reid breaking it down. But I did go back to 2020 when the Chiefs got ready for, oddly enough, the Chargers. Mm-hmm. And they had the 1 seed wrapped up. They were 14-1, and they were coming off the Atlanta Falcons' weird win that they would have lost if an interception was just caught in the end zone.
Forgot about that
Instead, it turns out to be a touchdown, and the Chiefs talk about how badly they played, and it was like, okay, do you put him back out? Because you're already getting a bye. Do you put him back out there to get a better feeling offensively, or do you just simply let him rest because it doesn't matter? Here's Andy Reid on the Wednesday press conference heading into the Sunday game against the Chargers, talking about players playing or resting.
I think it's a good opportunity for some of our young guys to, or guys that haven't had a chance to play, get in and play. I will, for better terms, I guess, sit some of the starters and the best I can, rest them up and get them ready for later. But for right now, I'm excited to let these other guys get in and have an opportunity to play.
Hey, Andy, have you decided which way you're going to go at quarterback on Sunday? And if it's going to be Chad Henne, is Pat going to be down? Are you going to activate Matt Moore on Sunday?
Yeah, I haven't gone through all the acts and acts, but Chad will go ahead and play, yeah.
So he did let people know on Wednesday that Mahomes was sitting. And that was, again, if you're just joining us, that was from 2020, heading into the Chargers game when the Chiefs had the number 1 seed locked up. They had this scenario back in 2017 when their seed was locked up going into the last week, and that when Chance McDanielson, was out there playing. Oddly enough, was that the Chargers too?
It feels like it's always the Chargers.
Seems like it's the Chargers. But both teams resting their quarterback this week.
2017, you said?
Was it 2017 when Chance
that would have been
McDaniels?
Mahomes' first game against...
That was Denver. That's right.
Oh,
it was,
bleep, yeah.
That's right. Duh.
What else happened that year
Jesus.
in that game?
Good God.
It was the Broncos, I believe, Jason.
Yeah. But the time before that,
yeah,
because that was a big deal where if the Chiefs won, the Steelers got into the playoffs. And I remember having a conversation with Mike DeCourcy after the Chiefs ended up losing that game by a field goal or something like that. And they were leading, and Mike DeCourcy was, no, I appreciate your Chiefs doing that. No, thank you very much. You know, he was kind of salty. It was something along those lines. But, yeah, so that was so 3 of the 4 times they've been in this situation have been against the Chargers. So I do think we'll hear something. I was snarky yesterday, but going back and hearing that, he announced on Wednesday, we'll rest our guys. Get young guys opportunities to play. Like I said yesterday with Adam Teicher, FAU, entire game. 90% of the snaps for Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Pay Chris Jones $1 million bonus or whatever it is, the incentive, because it's already likely to be earned because he surpassed 10 sacks last year, right? So that incentive of $1.5 million to get to 10 sacks is already counting on this cap number this year. So they can just go ahead and pay that if they need to rework the contract or say, hey, we're going to do a little amendment here, 9.5 sacks. There you go, Chris Jones, sign right here. Here's your $1.5 million and have a seat. You got there. And I know for your career, it won't say double-digit sacks that year, but it will say, $1.5 million more in your bank account. And it'll say you get rested up.
And you know what? You can watch from the suite if you want.
Go ahead and do that. That's
just bookend it.
Perfectly fine for you to do that. So I do think we'll hear something from Andy Reid, and I'm going to guess that it's Blaine Gabbert and Matt Moore or Oladokin. How about going back to then? No, Chad Henne and Matt Moore will be active against the Chargers.
This 2020-2021 Chiefs-Chargers games, you got an Anthony Sherman carry and a Garrett Dieter catch.
He was excited to see the young guys get in there.
I mean, that right there, that's a legendary.
All Darwin Thompson.
It was the Darwin Thompson game, yeah. He had 14 carries
Clyde
and 7 receptions.
They sat Clyde. They sat Tyreek.
Survival of the fittest.
Travis didn't play.
Good job, Darwin.
Pat didn't play. Chad Henne was out there just slinging the ball around.
Real evolution of the offense.
38-21 loss to Justin Herbert, where the Chargers then bragged about beating the Chiefs the next year with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert.
I mean,
won in Kansas City.
Technically,
they were right.
Technically, that was true.
That was absolutely right.
In front of 13,000 people.
That's right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I want to hear some clips from New Heights. We'll talk to Cynthia Freeland at 11 o'clock about some of the things that came from the podcast that Travis Kelce talking about new defenses in the red zone. But I also think there may be a new anthem developing for the Chiefs. It could be if they make a longer run. We'll talk about that as well. More Zone next. right, we get. Start over. 3, 2,
3, 2.
All right, we rolling. 3, 2, and 1.
We're not back yet. I can curse, right?
Yep. All right, welcome back here in the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco. Messed that one up too.
Farts!
Fudge! We'll talk with Cynthia coming up at doggone it! I am just so upset right now.
God, I could toot.
Cheese and rice! Holy shirts and pants! I am not happy with myself right now.
If you've enjoyed this
Big
segment,
stupid head!
do not listen to New Heights.
So, the New Heights podcast, let's hear a couple of clips. One, let's talk about what we're discussing in the what could be a defensive evolution on what Travis Kelce is seeing. Now, this was a question from Jason just simply about, you guys kicked 6 field goals. And he was talking about, well, Butker made 6 field goals. I mean, 18 points from the kicker, which is him talking about how awesome it is for Butker, but it's also sort of the backhanded, compliment of like, hey, you also weren't scoring touchdowns. That's why he had to kick 6 field goals. And he asked him, so what was Cincinnati doing in the red zone as to why you guys were settling for so many field goals?
A lot of teams are really playing this this goal line style defense once you get inside the 15, where it's basically keep it all in front of you, don't give up a touchdown, hold it. And when teams are doing that, you got to be able to run the ball. You have the safeties and DBs are playing on the goal line, kind of sitting there waiting on everything and passing guys off in zones, and it's prime position to be able to run the ball. And I think
agree.
When we really started to get going, we got the ball down to I think the 10 and the 5 on almost all of those drives. I feel like the 54-yarder obviously being the exception there, but needless to say, we got to be able to punch that thing in no matter what defense they're running, find ways to put up 7 points, man, because that's against a better offense or against an offense that's clicking a little bit more on over the course of the game. Those field goals turning into touchdowns, I mean, those are daggers, absolute daggers.
And I feel like teams across the league have gone to this shift of from the 12-yard line in, they've been playing that type of coverage, like zero. It's basically goal line defense, like you're saying, from a coverage perspective.
Yeah,
man, it's been successful. It's really stalled a lot of people out in those areas of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel, is that new this year? Is that just me, or is that? It feels like teams used to go to that at like the 6 was like when it used to kind of really kick in. It feels like it's moved out a little bit further now. Is that accurate?
10 to 5. I think you're somewhere in there. Yeah.
That's really interesting stuff.
Really interesting.
And that's some of the things that, I've been sometimes the New Heights podcast, it can get goofy, and those things are funny too.
We'll get there.
But some of the information that comes out like that, where Travis and Jason are both saying, yeah, is this new? Like Jason Kelce's one of, if not the best center in the league, and he's going, is it just me, or did this happen before? Because I'm noticing it this year that teams are doing this, where around the 15-yard line, he said the 12 to 15, whatever it is, that teams are putting their safeties and defensive backs on the goal line and saying, we're keeping everything in front of us to make sure you don't get past this. Mm-hmm. And Travis was like, well, that used to be at like the 6-yard line. You get to the 6 and they would go, okay, goal line, everything in. Like when he said goal line defense, I'm like, they're all going heavy with that? But when he described it and said, they're essentially at the goal line and saying everything in front of us. And I wonder if that's also part of why scoring is down. Have defenses gone to once you get inside the 20, our entire mission is to hold you to a field goal, which should have been the case long ago, right?
It's a little that part's a little confusing to me.
Yeah, but is it just a different way of doing that?
Yeah.
A different way of, we're going to hold you to a field goal because we'll give up yards, but we're going to make sure that you don't get past this.
It's weird because I had a similar question of like, well, so what about it is different? Because look, you weren't letting stuff get behind you past the goalposts. I mean, so I don't know. When you keep everything in front of you, what does that mean?
It's not the Canadian Football League with a 20-yard end zone.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know if that's more about just a lot more passing off in zones that way. And at one point there, it sounded like Jason was starting to talk about having like just no real safeties, and so maybe it's more about bringing the safeties down a little bit, and then it's a lot more horizontal. I'm not sure. This is also first I've really heard about.
They both agreed run the football. Like
right.
You've got to run. If you're going to do that against this defense that they're doing, you got to run the football.
So if it's more horizontal and you have less safeties, quote unquote, deep, then now all of a sudden there's less to fill there. Maybe I'm guessing that's just kind of I'm moving magnets on the refrigerator there.
That's right.
The Eagles, it makes sense though, because if you think about it, the Eagles' end zone is 11 or 12 yards long. If you get to the 1 or the 2, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
If you tackle DeAndre Swift at the 1 yard line, as has happened like legitimately like 10 times this year almost, I think. If you tackle Swift at the 1, Eagles are scoring on the next play unless that sucker was 4th and goal. Nothing else matters. For the Chiefs, I wonder if it's just more about Mahomes and more about the style of offense and more about Kelsey, honestly, where it's like, okay, well, we cannot cover this dude for a 4-yard touchdown if he has all the space in the end zone to work with and he's able to find a pocket of a zone. So maybe you have to devote more guys to that zone coverage, so there's even there is more like a seam than an actual pocket where you can try to find in that zone coverage. I'm not sure, but it's really interesting. I'm interested to hear what Cynthia says about that too.
Yeah, and I'm looking at when Travis is like, yeah, you got to be able to run the football.
Also, only 2 of those Butker field goals were actually like from the red zone.
Yeah,
so.
There were 9 plays that the Chiefs ran inside the 15-yard line, and of those 9 plays, 4 of them were runs. The first and goal from the Cincinnati 11-yard line, Pacheco picked up 5. 2nd and 5 from the 6-yard line, Pacheco picked up 2, and then 3rd and 3 from the 4-yard line is when Mahomes was scrambling, couldn't get in, and then threw it to Pacheco in the flat, and Pacheco lost a couple of yards, and then they kicked the field goal, 24-yarder. But as Travis Kelce was like, I feel like every drive down there was inside. They had 3 drives that got inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
One was the touchdown on 3rd and 8, the throw to Pacheco, in which that was also, 1 handoff and then 2 pass plays. So if it's like, you got to run the ball, they haven't really done that. 1 possession is when they actually ran the ball the first 2 times, and they were also up 22-17 at that point. Then they got down to the 9, kicked a field goal, got down to the 6, and kicked a field goal. That's the last play from scrimmage, was at the 8, the 9, and the 6, the 3 times they got inside the red zone. And they went 3 for 3 in scoring, 1 for 3 in scoring a touchdown. So, yeah, I'm going to ask Cynthia Freeland about that. Do we have time to play the we got 3 minutes. Let's play Travis Kelce in the Cincy game and the atmosphere and what was going on in that game and on the sideline and how much fun it was to be a part of the game on Sunday.
Man, I'll tell you what, man, that was a fun game to be a part of. It's probably the first game I've had in a while where the energy felt right on the sideline, the excitement for everybody's success, not just out there trying to do your job. And guys were making plays. Guys were comfortable out there. We had a really good week of preparation, especially on the offensive side, or just speaking of the offensive side, knowing that our defense played their asses off again. But offensively, it felt like we caught a rhythm there, and it all kind of started with that offensive line. I mean, those 5 guys came together and made it a statement that we were going to control the line of scrimmage. And sure enough, I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, 100+ yards after with a touchdown. Guys, the wide receivers getting in, getting dirty, getting inside the hashes and getting some big blocks. It was a fun game to be a part of because everybody just kind of rallied together to prove to ourselves that we can do this with the guys that we got in this locker room. And sure enough, we didn't put up as many touchdowns as we wanted to, but we were moving the ball, and we had our safety net, Harrison Butker, just dialed in for 6 out of 6 field goals. It was just it was all around fun game, man.
So the atmosphere was fun. The defense was awesome, and the defense was awesome late when the Bengals had the ball down 25-17. Needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to go and tie that game up. Willie Gay, new DJ out at Arrowhead Stadium. Willie Gay would like a certain song played. He turned around to a camera that was there, and this is the conversation that took place with Willie Gay and then you can hear the players as the song is playing in the background. Take a listen.
Hey, Cameron. Hey, tell them to play Swag Surf. Tell them, pass the word up, tell them to play Swag Surf. We really need that. Go on, send a text message out, tell them to play Swag Surf. Tell them, after the next defensive stop.
The sideline now. Pacheco, Rice, Kelsey, Willie Gay. They are on the sideline doing that, going crazy. By the way, 3 of the next 4 plays were sacks after they played that. New Heights talked about that, swag surfing. Kelsey saying, yeah, it's kind of been a song that for a while that we've played it. Wonder if some Chiefs players get asked about it. Has this become the Rangers' creed?
She's analyzed the data.
If you can keep that big booty down, like if you are a big boy, if you're very tall and you can keep your booty down low, then you are far more successful.
She's crunched the numbers and the results are clear.
The back of booty isn't as good, as it turns out.
If she picks a dog, she'll have the math to back it up.
It's not like Travis Kelce has done. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
It's Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
That's right. Hanging out with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert here in the zone on this Wednesday edition of the show. Cynthia, welcome in. How are you?
Happy New Year. I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I am just fine. Happy New Year to you as well. How was your Sunday night, your New Year's Eve? Did you ring in the New Year in style? Was it low-key? What's Cynthia Freeland do on a New Year's Eve?
Well, I had to work that morning very early, and then, of course, the next day I worked as well. So I was pretty low-key, just celebrated with some friends, and I didn't make it to midnight, so okay. But, you know, we're good.
It's 10 o'clock for us that you got to make it, 2 o'clock in the morning for us that you got to make it to midnight. So,
exactly.
3 o'clock in the morning for the East Coast when you got to make it there. So, you know what? You could have just, I was going to say, make it to the East Coast time, watch the ball drop, and then you're good. You know?
Fireworks, ball drop. I got the whole thing down. It's good now. I mean, I've been, the whole, having to get to work at like 6 in the morning the next morning really kind of puts a little bit of a damper on what could be a fun night.
You know what you do? Here's a better idea. If you're willing to celebrate the East Coast ball dropping and New Year's, just go further east into Europe and celebrate it at noon.
There we go. Exactly.
At noon. Now you're good to go. Now you go, it's New Year. Happy New Year, everybody, noon. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's midnight somewhere. I saw a fantastic tweet, and this is, sorry, Nebraska fans, this was a funny tweet. Said, time zones are amazing. Australia's in 2024, the U.S. is in 2023, and Nebraska football stuck in 1995.
Oh, there we go.
I thought that was very funny.
In fairness, the 90s were good to Nebraska football, so they should be happy about that,
Agreed, yes, absolutely. Cynthia Freeland with us. Okay, so let's start with the Chiefs win over the Bengals. We'll get into a number of other things outside of just specifically the Chiefs. But your takeaway from the Chiefs winning, they had 7 scoring drives, Cynthia, so they got into the 40. They scored 25 points because 6 of those were field goals. But you know what? They got over 21 points. They got to 25, and if they did that every single game, they'd be right now they'd be 15-1 if they just got to 25 points every single game. But your takeaway from what we saw from this Chiefs team/offense?
It was nice to see Isaiah Pacheco run effectively and efficiently. Obviously Cincinnati, they have I feel like Lou Anarumo, part of the reason why we think he's such a good defense coordinator, and in fairness, he is, but part of the reason why is, he has made a lot of hay by figuring out the puzzle that is Patrick Mahomes. And when you can't figure it out and you see the most points you've seen in a number of weeks you put up, that's a very encouraging sign, very exciting look, it's a little different when you don't have Joe Burrow. I'm not going to pretend that's not the same, but it's good to see the 130 rush yards from Isaiah Pacheco and scoring drives that resulted in points. Who cares if they're field goals or not?
Yeah, and they got inside the red zone 3 times. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone. You'd like that to be better. They got not only inside the red zone, they took plays from scrimmage inside the 10-yard line. They scored 1 touchdown on 3rd and 8 and then settled for field goals the other 2 times. So it wasn't like they were getting down to 1st and goal from the 6 and kicking field goals. They get to the 30, kick a field goal. And that's kind of what, I talked about a few weeks ago. And gosh, which game was it? Maybe the Raiders, when I said, you know how difficult it is to, have the ball 10 times and only score twice when Harrison Butker is your kicker? Have 2 scoring drives out of 10 when you've got Butker as your kicker? That is difficult to do. And they showed that in this game. It's they kicked 6 field goals. Right. But the offense was doing enough to get points on a drive. And there have been so many times this offense has not been able to do that. You know what? If they average 3 points per drive, they'll be fine. They'll be fine going into the playoffs, at least until the AFC Championship game when they would face off against the Ravens, and then we'll see what happens with that. But the offense in this one, one of the things we talked about last week, Cynthia, was the 44 pass attempts against the Raiders for Patrick Mahomes. 15 of those were at or behind the line of scrimmage, and only 5 of those were 10 or more air yards. Now, he threw the ball 29 times in this one. 10 of those passes were at or behind the line of scrimmage. Well, that's a third. But 5 of the 29 were 10 or more air yards, as opposed to 5 of the 44 were 10 or more air yards. And on this day against the Bengals, he went 3 of 5 for 139 yards and a touchdown when the ball traveled 10 or more yards in the air. The touchdown to Isaiah Pacheco was 3 yards deep in the end zone, and an 8-yard touchdown that equals 11 air yards for Patrick Mahomes. So he had 139 yards and a touchdown on 3 of 5 passing, and one of those was a drop by MVS right through his hands. The other one was Justin Watson almost pulling down a one-handed catch. What does that do for this team if they are completing those? One thing to, hey, let's take some shots when they're not coming through, and defenses are like, yeah, I dare you to do that because you are not efficient. You're not you're not on the same page with your receivers, and that doesn't scare us. And even if he's open, he may drop it. What does it do that they were taking the deep shots at a higher clip, 5 of 30 instead of 5 of 44, and they completed 3 of those, especially 2 of those that were deep, a 67-yarder and a 44-yarder.
Like a real deep one, right? Like not like a fake deep one. But I mean, look, the fact is Mahomes right now on deep passes, his passer rating's not what we're used to from him, right? Like, it's 48.8 on those deep passes. Those are 20-plus air yard passes, not just 10.
Yeah, not just 10, yeah.
That's not
I lowered it to 10. I lowered it. I was being even more generous to this offense.
But I mean, when you think of Patrick Mahomes, you think of that because from 18 to 21, he had 44 deep passes. This has been 2 since the beginning of last season. So that's where, like, you're starting to see it kind of come together. I will say it's really interesting when you're looking at the data that Mahomes has completed a pass just in general to 10-plus different receivers in 6 games this season. That's the most in the Super Bowl era. So most different receivers catching a pass in a single game in the Super Bowl era. That means they're trying to figure some stuff out. Now, when you see that stuff working at a 60% rate, okay, 5 passes, that's not the most ever, but it's still a 60% rate. 40 is good. You would imagine he would complete 2 of those 5, not 3. So that's where you're starting to see this thing come together. They're figuring it out. We saw the drops. We know. We've heard everyone and their brother say that they have 29. We got it. They have 29 drops, tied the most in the NFL with the Browns. We know. But other than that, we're trying to figure it out now, and you're starting to see it come together. So that was very encouraging. If you could have 5 and complete 3 of them for any quarterback in the league, that they would be ecstatic.
Yeah, 3 of 5 for 139 yards and a touchdown. I don't know what the quarterback rating is on that, but I'm guessing it's good.
Higher.
It's a pretty
higher
high.
Than 48.8, yes.
That's right. I'm looking at last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry for my counting on the air.
No, you're good.
Last week, he completed passes to 9 different receivers against the Raiders, and this week was just 7.
Just 7.
Yeah. And you know what? If it's just 7, I'll take that.
Right.
I don't know how many times you and I may have had this conversation. I know I've had the conversation before on the air. It may have been with you of just at some point you just got to pare that down. You can't just keep throwing it to 10 different guys if you're going to be on the same page and guys know what they're supposed to do and be where they're supposed to be. And there's a connection of, okay, this is Rashee Rice running, because when Mahomes throws the ball to Rashee Rice when he beats the defender, he doesn't throw it the same length as if Tyreek Hill beat that guy. There is a difference of how far he's going to throw that football. And when it's, well, Rashee Rice is out there. Okay, well, this one's McCole Hardman. Okay, well, that's Justin Watson. Well, this is MVS. Well, that's Richie James. Okay, well, that's Kadarius Toney. You've got different ways in how you're going to lay the ball out there. Mahomes is a fantastic quarterback, so he's done a pretty good job of that. But we've also seen him be on different pages with different guys this year. So it's a fantastic stat. 10 or more receivers completing a pass to in 6 different games is the most in the Super Bowl era.
The whole era. That's since 1970. It's a long time.
Yeah, history's a long time. I believe Eric Bieniemy would say that a lot. History's a long time now, which is great. So, I liked what I saw from the offense, and I don't know if there's a correlation between, the report before the game that the Chiefs were paring it down even more, their offense, and going even more basic, even more general concepts, so that players would know where they're supposed to be, plays that they trust, and guys being able to play a little bit faster, that they had the second most yards per play on the season. The Chargers earlier this year, 7.5 yards per play. This one was 7 yards per play, and they matched their season high for 20-plus yard plays. They had 6 different plays of 20 or more yards, which is significant because typically if you get one of those, you end up scoring on a drive. If you get one of those 20-yard plays on a drive, you typically score. They had 7 scoring drives. They had 6 plays of 20 or more yards. Is there correlation causation with that? Or if that report never came out and it was just like, well, it's the same offense we're seeing, that they just played better. Do you think there's correlation causation with Andy Reid and the Chiefs maybe saying, well, let's cut out a third of the playbook. Let's go with this. We trust this. These are our foundational plays. And let's just go execute because we feel like our guys versus your guys are better.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both in the sense of I think the game plan was dictated really well. They know exactly what they were trying to do against this specific defense, and then they executed it really well as well. So maybe it's a factor of simplifying the playbook, but it's probably also something to do with now you can say, okay, Rice is now not a rookie in terms of the data, right? He's seen enough different looks. He understands more defenses and how they're going to give him what type of coverage, et cetera. So maybe now you say, okay, we don't have to have a plan B here. We can stick with just plan A. So it's probably a little bit of growth from your main non-Travis Kelce target. That is a big deal. Probably a little bit of that and a little bit of, let's cut this down so we're not confusing anyone. Keep it simple and move forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that ends up being the case and they look a little bit more like this. And also, you know what? They committed to the run, and I say that while also being talking out of both sides of my mouth because I feel like in the second half they weren't running it enough. And it's like, wow, they just ran it down their throat. And then all of a sudden now they're not handing it off enough. But 18 carries for Isaiah Pacheco. And you and I have had the discussion that, Pacheco as a weapon doesn't have to be handing the ball off to him. He touched the ball 25 times in the game for 165 yards, which is why he should not play this weekend because he got 25 touches.
Yeah.
To me, that's where the offense can also be a little bit different is, Pacheco, whether you're handing him the ball and the offensive line just taking a bleep you approach and controlling the line of scrimmage, which they did in this game and they did not against the Raiders, or if it's even, Pacheco in the passing game, get him out in routes. He's got a 21-yard reception in the game, had an 8-yard touchdown in the game. Use him in different ways. So it's almost like a couple of weapons, a running back and an extra receiver in there because you don't have McKinnon and you don't have that receiving threat. But Pacheco can be that as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, look, the interesting part here is I kind of think sometimes you should, if something's working, you should keep going to it and not get tired of it. And perhaps that's why they're looking through to be like, all right, let's get our Pacheco playoff playbook in place. And then now I'm not going to I'm weird about whenever, because knock on wood, I have not been to a loss for the Chiefs in person. I was not at the Super Bowl when it didn't work out. And that is why I won't go to the game this weekend, because not that I think they'll lose.
You don't want to break
I'd
your
rather
streak?
everyone just I want to keep my streak alive. It's very important to me to have my streak.
That makes total sense. Yes, the Chiefs have won 8 AFC Wests in a row, and they are also undefeated when you attend the games, and they're underdogs this weekend. So, 3-point dogs.
Reason.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-point dogs to the Chargers, and who knows who's going to play, who's not going to play. I highly doubt Patrick Mahomes plays. I am fascinated to see if Travis Kelce plays. If he plays long enough just to get
those
16 yards. One drive. Get out there, Travis. We're going to throw the ball to you 3 straight times. You just run straight ahead, catch it, fall down. There's 8 yards. Right. Run straight ahead, turn around, catch it, fall down, 8 yards. Boom, get out of the game, Travis.
Yeah, but because you can't not keep that streak alive. You can't. He's the best tight end we've seen. You gotta have the streak. You just have to. You have to.
There was a Todd Levo yesterday hosting the afternoon show. They have Trent Green on every Monday, so they had him on yesterday because there's no show on Monday. And they reminisced about the game when Tony Gonzalez needed 11 receptions to get to 100 on the season. And they ended up throwing him the ball 18 times. It was just Trent Green was Tony Gonzalez, because they wanted, and he ended up obviously getting to 100 receptions, but the whole game was we are going to throw it to Tony Gonzalez. I don't know that it was one of those huge implications where you got to win and to get in or something like that. But Trent Green told the story. It was he was a big part of the game plan, but I told him I will not throw you the ball if it's, you're covered and somebody else is open. We're not going to do that. I will still follow, the progressions, but also a huge chunk of the game plan is to throw it to Tony G. And by the way, he's pretty good at getting open, so is Travis Kelce. So we'll see if it's Blaine Gabbert in there and just, hey, look for number 87. Throw him the ball a couple times. He's going to get out, and then look for 83 or whoever else, the rest of the way.
Right.
Does not matter.
We make fun of Steve Mariucci a lot on our set on Game Day Morning because he was the coach of the 49ers on Jerry Rice Day, and he somehow threw the ball. He called to throw to the ball to T.O. like 20 times in that game, and everyone's like, why are you doing that?
It's the decoy. They're going to expect that. Come on. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert, is our guest. Okay, so Josh and I are going to get into a conversation at some point about reason versus excuses that come up in life and in every path people take in every walk of life, and certainly in sports as well. So when the schedule was released, Josh and I had a conversation about the end of the season and extra days of rest, and we went through that. And it's something we've gone through before with the schedule release, but in my time, covering the Chiefs, certainly in the last 4 years moving back home and going through the schedule, it hasn't impacted the Chiefs one way or another. There hadn't been a correlation, a connection between it. It'd be, a day where like, this team has 3 extra days rest and the Chiefs beat them. Or the Chiefs had extra days rest on this one and they ended up losing that game. So it's not something that I paid a whole lot of attention to, gave a lot of mind to when the schedule was released. We pointed it out. And then as the season was going along, they were 6-2 at the bye week, and some of those games they were playing was, Green Bay. Which at the time Jordan Love wasn't playing like he was playing. New England with Mac Jones, okay, whatever. Vegas twice, you know what I mean? Like, okay, come on.
Right.
So they were poo-pooed, certainly by me. So I'll ask you, how much of a factor is there? Not even getting into reasons versus excuses and things like that. I think that is in the eye of the beholder when people look at it. But the 4 straight games from Green Bay to Vegas, they faced off against teams that either played Thursday night football or were on a bye the week before. And Cincinnati played Saturday. The Chiefs played on Christmas Day. That was 2 extra days. So 6 straight games they have played against teams that have had extra days of rest. And the last 5, the extra days of rest have added up to 18 days for the 5 teams they've played. How much of a factor is that? Is it overblown? Is it something that should be taken into account as part of this? One of the points that I wanted to make, Cynthia, is, we've talked about, the Chiefs look tired. They look slow. They look sluggish. Well, would they look sluggish against a team that had the same amount of rest? I don't know, because all we have to do is go off the games that took place. What are your thoughts on what's been laid out there and been discussed the last couple of days? A lot. It's a conversation that's come back up the last couple of days.
Yeah, it definitely does impact a number of things. Now, I will say there are things that are more impactful. For example, a massive injury is a much bigger deal. But when you have a team that's had big rest, or even another day or so of rest, it does end up being a little dicey for the team that doesn't have the rest. Like they really try when the schedule makers are doing their thing to not have that be the case, but just the way that the whole world works, it just doesn't always work out that way. But it's not again, it's really hard to judge it in a vacuum because at the end of the season there are often tons of injuries. This year in particular, we have so many quarterbacks we weren't expecting to be starters at this point. We have so many, certain O-lines are just decimated and confusing. And so it's very hard to isolate the exact impacts of it. But it is certainly something to take into consideration, because 1 or 2 days is very helpful rest. When you take a week off, so for example, the decision whether to rest your starters, if you're, say, the Ravens who have the bye, that's a much different decision than if you're the Chiefs who don't have the bye.
Yeah.
So there are some things. It's hard to isolate the exact impact of just one more day, but it is real, and especially depending for defenses, how many snaps the defense played, and if they're playing, for example, if they're playing a ton of, if they're coming from behind and it's a bunch of the team they're playing is coming from behind, and they just have to keep pass rushing over and over again at the end of the game. That's different than if it's running the clock out at the end.
Is it a reason, not an excuse, but is it a reason as to why early in the games the Chiefs are falling behind early? Teams maybe with a little more rest that they can get off to a better start, or would that be the exact opposite, that the less rest would affect you in the third and fourth quarter, like you're talking about?
Again, it depends on what the rest is. Like, I think the thing about the early thing, that what I think the most impactful reason that you're seeing early kind of faltering by the Chiefs is because everybody brings their A game. Like, this is a game that, they're not sitting there being like, oh, we're playing the Raiders this week. Like, maybe we don't need to have our first 20 can be more quote unquote fun, right? Like, the scripted plays don't have to be quite as perfect. Now, everyone comes trying to play their perfect game against the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, and this is the best defense he's had, but it's not the best offense he's had. So it's one of those things where it can look a little different. Those, when you come out executing perfect from the jump, it looks a little different. Like, ask the difference between the Ravens when they played the Lions or the Ravens when they played the Niners versus the Ravens when they played the Browns, right? Yeah. Like, that's what things look like. So, everybody brings when you are the best and you are the brightest and you are the top of the mountain, unfortunately, every snap counts for you even more, especially in the beginning of games, because everyone wants. There is not a quarterback out here who's like, I'd rather beat someone else than Patrick Mahomes. Name anyone. Yeah. The answer is no.
Yeah, and around here we're talking about, who do the Chiefs want to play, not want to play? And in every other city they're going, look, I know they're struggling this year, but I don't want to play the Chiefs. That's not a team I want to. I don't want to play Patrick Mahomes.
None
of
them want to play that. Everyone wants to play whoever ends up sliding their way into winning, like the AFC South or in the NFC. Goodness, whoever that wild card team is that gets to play the winner of the NFC South is like pretty lucky if you think about it.
Yep, absolutely. Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert. You mentioned the Ravens there, and, they have just been playing phenomenal football, and they are dominating teams, good teams, that it's like, this is going to be a close game, and they're like, nah, we're going to beat you by 20. We're going to score 50 points on you. Are they doing anything different this year? Not necessarily opposed to last year where, Lamar Jackson's healthy. That's a big deal. Are they doing anything different than what we've seen from the Ravens of the past? Or is this an example of, hey, when you've got playmakers out there on the field and receivers and you throw it in with an MVP quarterback, this is what an offense can look like and how much fun it can be, as opposed to we see the Chiefs and how bogged down they can get with the lack of playmakers on the field and always feeling like Mahomes is throwing to a receiver that has a guy within a yard or two of him. It just felt like against the Dolphins, like Lamar was throwing to guys that were high school wide open a lot.
Well, in fairness to the Dolphins, they are missing Jalen Phillips. They're missing a few things. Mm-hmm. And the Ravens did have – it's kind of strange to say this, but it is an advantage to play two Shanahan-like teams back-to-back, because you're actually studying the same concept. So their defense got a pretty big jump because, while the of course, Christian McCaffrey isn't Raheem Mostert, and Raheem Mostert didn't play, whatever. But it's a similar concept. They're looking for the same route trees, et cetera. So that helped their defense quite a bit. But then on offense, when you're looking at what they're doing, it's not. I'm going to say it's not rocket science. I'm going to say they're finding ways to exploit when people make mistakes. Like if you look at the 49ers secondary is not the strongest part of their team. Their front of their defense is very strong. And then the opposite can be said for Miami. Miami, their front with Jalen Phillips gone and then Bradley Chubb getting hurt in that game, that's not their strength. Their strength is the secondary with Jalen Ramsey. So the fact is they adjusted things to find the right fit. Where can I use Isaiah Likely? The tight end concepts really work for them. That sort of Todd Monken from Georgia, it looks a lot like a Georgia offense, a couple of years ago, obviously not this year. But, it's an interesting thing. They're playing like it's just simple and in a very it looks complex, mm-hmm. and you always have to respect the run from Lamar Jackson. So the simplicity comes from the fact that they've just got really good athletes, like, kicking this thing off, right? Like, you have Zay Flowers. Look, I went to Boston College, so I used to watch those games. His quarterback poor Zay Flowers had to accommodate his quarterback's terrible throwing all season long. Now he gets a guy that can actually throw it to him, and look what happens, right? He finds open space because he's used to having to get open after adjusting to a duck ball. So now he gets a good ball thrown to him, and then what happens? So it's and look, some of it is honestly also a little luck because their O-line, I was worried about their O-line after that Cleveland game, but they've seemed to hold together a little bit better, and that's really what you saw from the Dolphins. The Dolphins' O-line was strange. And go back and watch that Niners game. They got really lucky on those Brock Purdy interceptions. Like, some of them, it's like, it bounced off a hand and, Happy Gilmore all the way back into the defender's lap. It was weird.
Yeah. It's Yeah, believe me, you don't have to tell me about Zay Flowers. That's the guy. That's who I wanted the Chiefs to trade up and get. And when there was talk about the Chiefs, trying to find a trade partner up in the 20s, and I'm like, oh my God, are they going to get Zay Flowers? I didn't want to be anywhere near Quentin Johnston, so I was praying that was not somebody that was on the list for the Chiefs. But Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison were the two that I really wanted in the first round. And then a couple receivers I identified in the second round that I really wanted. Luckily, I was lucky enough to say I would like the Chiefs to draft Rashee Rice and Puka Nacua.
Be right.
I'm just joking. I did not mention Puka Nacua at all. I was not that smart.
No one did.
Yeah,
no one
not that. And if people did, he would have been drafted a lot higher than what he was. But they've at least got somebody that offensive rookie of the year. There are 3 wide receivers that are on the board right now. Not that any of them will win it. It'll be C.J. Stroud. But the 3 wide receivers on the board are Puka, Zay, and Rashee Rice. So. If they were going to grab somebody in the second round, they got one of the 2 that is on the board that was available to them when they ended up drafting. So that's not too bad at all.
Listen, you should feel worse for the Chargers because the Chargers.
I don't.
they went up and got Quentin Johnston right ahead of Zay Flowers. So
that's
they
their own fault
to get them. It's their own fault.
That's their own fault. And when that happened, I cheered. I'm like, oh heck yeah. That's who they drafted. They think he's Mike Williams. They'll find out. He's not.
Okay.
He's not cool because it also meant that the Chiefs were not going to get Quentin Johnston. It was sort of twofold for me. I was just so scared off by Quentin Johnston. And look, he may be amazing next year after that. He may come out and be fantastic, and another year in the NFL seasoning. This isn't a Quentin Johnston conversation, but it is a Zay Flowers.
No.
And by the way, in pointing out that it felt like there were receivers that were high school open is not taking anything away from Lamar Jackson. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. Covered him in college. Loved the dude. A really, really good dude. And I think he's been better than what people have been saying he is for a while. And I think we're getting a firsthand account of what it's like for an offense to throw to lackluster receivers, which is what he'd been doing for most of his career. And even Patrick Mahomes isn't able to overcome that, to guys dropping the ball and not getting open and doing some of those things. And now Lamar Jackson has the receivers, and it's like, well, yeah, he's throwing to really dynamic players. Now he's getting right. But we're watching Mahomes, and he can't just be a magic elixir. So that's awesome. Last one for you, Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Has your hat ever matched your bag?
Has my hat ever matched my bag?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. I didn't know. I'm just wondering because what I believe might be the new anthem for the Chiefs, Willie Gay in the game, there's video going around that he looked to one of the cameras behind him and said, hey, get a message upstairs to the music. We need to play swag surfing. We need to play swag surfing. We need the energy here. And the next defensive stop, it was at the 2-minute warning, swag surfing came on. And the Chiefs sideline went crazy, and there's video of it. And Willie Gay's going crazy. Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, the whole sideline's going nuts. Travis Kelce talked about it this morning on New Heights podcast about swag surfing. I think it might be something that develops into, they're playing swag surfing in the game or whatever. So I didn't know if maybe your hat ever matched your bag like they talk about in swag surfing.
I feel like that's something that I should look into more, but, it's good. That's maybe an off-season, one of my off-season to-do list items.
Okay, yeah. Hat matching the bag. We'll see. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. I don't have to ask you about Chiefs and Chargers. You know what I may ask you, Bills and Dolphins. What do you think happens? Do you have an idea of a score and who wins that one? Because that's
I think a
massive.
1-point Bills win. A 1-point Bills win. I think it's so close. But to me, The Bills are getting a smidge healthier at the right time. They just got Daquan Jones back. Their run defense has actually been playing significantly better. And I'm not entirely sure who's playing for that Dolphins offense, but I do know that they'll be without Bradley Chubb. So Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, that gives Josh Allen some time. Remember, he had a really nice outing against them in week 4, and we haven't even seen what happens now since James Cook really started taking over a lot of the snaps. So to me, this is one where like the Bills sneak their way in the back door, and it's kind of crazy, and it's kind of wild. It's a strange world, that Bills world. I don't know what's going on with some. I don't know what happens with a healthy scratch for Von Miller. I don't know. All this stuff seems quite confusing to me. But what I do know is that when Josh Allen's there, just like you say about Patrick Mahomes, like you always got to be a little worried that Josh Allen's gonna eat your lunch.
Yeah, I'm banking on Chiefs Dolphins coming up next Saturday or Sunday or Monday, depending on what day they get scheduled. That's what I'm banking on because I think Buffalo goes in there and wins. But I do want Jacksonville to beat Tennessee, and I want Pittsburgh to beat Baltimore, so that Sunday night game is Buffalo wins. They're the 2 seed. If they lose, they're out.
I want that too.
That would be phenomenal drama.
I want it to be for all the marbles.
Yeah. I mean, Miami, if you win, you get the 2 seed, and you knock the Bills out of the playoffs. Like, unbelievable drama that would go into that game.
So much drama.
Yeah.
I mean, look, my other drama, I'm not even going to talk about that Lions game, but like the end of the Lions game, because they could have been in contention for the 1 seed.
The 1 seed, yeah.
Whatever.
Sorry.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
I'm sorry. But at least the NFL came out and said it's the Lions' fault, so.
Right.
Thank God they doubled down on that. Sorry about that. You guys should be the 2 seed. I mean, it should be the 2 seed, locked up, and unfortunate. Cynthia, very much appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the football, and looking forward to our conversation next week as we break down the playoff picture. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it as always.
Absolutely. Have a great week.
Yes, you too. There's Cynthia Freeland. Love talking with her. NFL Network analytics expert. Great stuff as always from Cynthia, and a lot of ground covered there with the Chiefs and everything covered except for one of the things that I talked about. I was going to talk about with her, and I wrote it down, and I never got to it. And now I am that's the thing is like I put the bullet points there, and I start talking, and then I sort of go where the thing is, and I'm so stupid. Text her. Text her and see if. Oh, my God. My goodness, man. I had the bullet points all written down, and then I skipped right over that one because I went she had talked to. So it was the extra days. The next bullet point was going to be about the goal line and inside the red zone, and the next one was the Ravens, and yet she was talking about the Ravens, and I'm like, oh, you know what? You mentioned the Ravens, and then start talking about that, and I was going to go back up there, but I'm so stupid. But at least we got the point of a hat matching her bag.
I can get you Curtis Seabolt.
It's right there.
If you want me to go ask him.
Holy shirts and pants, cheese and rice. Let's start over. Call her up. We'll do it again. 3, 2, and 1. Erase it. Start again. All right, welcome back. We're talking with Cynthia. Cynthia, what's your takeaway from the Chiefs game against the Bengals?
This is weird. My text from her says red, but not. I don't know. Well, I guess it's time. All right, here we go. She's done the research.
At least ask her
she
dog.
She picks a dog.
Ask her dog if her dog has seen the evolution of the defense.
I wonder if we could just recreate all of the opens now, just a cappella.
All right, we'll take a timeout. I'll try not to drop this ball, but I would fit right in with the Chiefs if I did.
It's really Cynthia's fault for not putting it on your hip. I mean, if she would have brought it up,
it's right in my hands.
Figure out a way to blame her.
And I let it go. We'll return. Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels, MVS. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Looking forward to a conversation next week with Cynthia when I ask her about defenses and maybe the evolution of what they're doing inside the red zone that Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce talked about. That was my third bullet point in the entire conversation to get to with Cynthia, but I feel so dumb. 913-912-4810 to most of the texters out there. No, I did not put that together, but I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll tell you guys in the break. 913.
Ooh, I guess I also didn't put it together.
810. Let's just say I was talking about the swag surfing song, and I said, has the hat matched your bag? Today it'll be Andy Reid and a quarterback at the podium. Andy Reid and quarterback. So that's a pretty decent indication that quarterback will play against the Chargers.
I think quarterback will be out there. Not Netflix's quarterback. I think he probably won't be.
Marcus Mariota can be out there. Kirk Cousins on a torn ACL can be out there playing this weekend. Although I don't know that he'll get the ball to Kelce for 16 yards. I'm not sure.
I think you could.
I think so?
I think he could. He would not be very mobile, but I think he could.
By the way, this text came in earlier today, and I didn't see it, but we were talking about Kelce, if he plays or not. Said, and I didn't remember this, and it's a great recall by the texter. Said 2017, Kareem Hunt needed 13 yards to be the rushing leader, even though the other starters rested. Kareem Hunt played, one rush, 35 yards out of the game.
Yeah.
So there is precedent and history of Andy Reid saying, okay, you can go out there early in the game, and even dressing, because it's like, well, do you dress Travis Kelce just to play a few plays and get 16 yards, and then you lose out on dressing somebody else? Well, he did that with a running back in Kareem Hunt. And running backs get hurt a lot more than, tight ends when you've got Noah Gray and Blake Bell that are out there. And it won't matter if Blake Bell is going to have to be a main receiver from time to time because they don't have to win.
And it was a rookie running back as well. That was kind of a sentiment of him leading the league in rushing. So maybe that also
there was historical precedent to it.
So maybe
this is historical precedent.
1,000-yard seasons will hopefully allow him to get a 20-yard route where we clear it out with our hands catcher MVS going deep. So, got to double him.
MVS.
You always have to double MVS. Remember, that's why Travis is getting so open.
Also on the All-22, and I know we probably need to take a break right now. I'm assuming. But on the All-22, watching that, I didn't watch the whole All-22 because they played well, so I didn't really feel like going through and breaking down each individual play. But on the MVS drop where it hit him in his right nipple, and he thought it hit him in his hip, which is why he dropped the ball, because he was holding his hands near his hip. So that is unfortunate. He was so open because Rashee Rice was running right up the field, and two guys ran with Rashee Rice. That stood out to me more than MVS being so wide open. Is that they put bracket coverage on Rashee Rice going up the field. If that's what's starting to happen because Rashee Rice is doing things and offering a threat, then other guys have to step up. We've talked about, you got to get the ball to Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice and Travis. If you could just have Rashee Rice develop, the offense is different. Okay, they have Rashee Rice developing. The offense hasn't been much different. But it can be if Rashee Rice is doing the things he's doing while also offering double coverage. That's a number one receiver. When you're getting double covered from time to time and you end up with 120 yards receiving, that's a number one receiver that you are a threat. So there are two guys out there then on that particular play that the defense was paying so much attention to, Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, that MVS, if he catches that and turns, he's at least the 5-yard line. He may score. He's at least, it's a 4-point drop. Is what it ended up being. That's now what Kelce and Rashee Rice are doing for the other guys. But the other guys have to step up and make some plays. That stood out to me more than the ball hitting MVS in the right nipple, is that two guys ran straight up the field with Rashee Rice clearing that out. If that's Sky Moore, not to throw him under the bus, if that's Sky Moore,
defenses will be able to nip it in the bud.
That's right. MVS wouldn't have been as open.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, that's right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid and quarterback next. Andy Reid and quarterback will be at the podium today, and player. Andy Reid, quarterback, and player will be at the podium. The fact that it's Andy Reid and a quarterback is telling me that it's going to be Andy Reid and Oladokin. Or Blaine Gabbert. Probably Blaine Gabbert.
I'd lean Blaine Gabbert, but it's hard to say. Maybe Shane Bichelle returns.
You know what? It's all coming up Mizzou. That's what it is. Andy Reid and his Mizzou past is going, you know what? Let's build off that Cotton Bowl win. What if we sat the Texas Tech scrub and put in this Mizzou guy? That guy knows about winning double-digit games in a season.
That's right.
That Blaine Gabbert knows about double-digit wins.
Backup quarterback, you.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a great life.
Come to Mizzou, and then you can make millions and millions of dollars in the NFL while not getting your body destroyed.
Seems like a win-win.
Great win-win.
The only way to do that is to be an owner. You have to start with money for that.
Which is why it's sort of, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's happening in Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett, you know, and Mason Rudolph. If he actually said, I'm not dressing if I'm not playing. He seemed pretty strong in his counter to that. The people that have covered the Steelers for a long time, nobody has said that at all. There hasn't been a report from that of, no, actually, this is what happened. And he came out and refuted it pretty strongly of like, this is dumb. Like, I have no idea. I was either going to start or I wasn't healthy enough to play, and then I wasn't going to dress. That's what happened. It would be dumb for him to say I'm not going to be a backup quarterback when Kenny Pickett can be a backup quarterback the next 10 years and make buku bucks unless he says, I'm not going to be a backup quarterback. I refuse. I won't even dress if I'm the backup quarterback. And again, I don't know Kenny Pickett. Maybe he would be emotional in the moment and not have the long-term view of millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line. And there's the ego of, no, I want to be the starting quarterback.
And it would be his first real official demotion at the NFL
That's
level.
true.
Like, you're not the starter anymore.
As opposed to Blaine Gabbert knows his career, the rest of his career is this.
Yes.
You're the backup quarterback. You've probably come to grips with that. You have the grief, you're at acceptance that this is my career. And you know what? Ain't a bad one to make $2 million by being Patrick Mahomes' backup and offering one of the best lines of the year of Brian Cook's knees were touching the upper deck when he was running against the Dolphins down the sideline after getting the fumble from Mike Edwards, who may be at the podium today, and lateraling it to Brian Cook. So I think about that as we're talking about Blaine Gabbert and being now a backup quarterback, and Chase Daniel, a backup quarterback for so long, and Chad Henne, the last time they were in this situation, Chad Henne played the whole game, backup quarterback for so long, guys who were starters at one point. Younger guy, maybe the emotions got the best of him. Maybe it did happen that he was like, well, if I'm not starting, I'm not playing. But he's dressing this weekend and not starting.
Right.
But again, doesn't mean that wouldn't have happened last week. It's just that would be pretty dumb if you get the reputation of, no, I refuse to be a backup, because you're talking about 20, 30 million for that guy. Here's Andy Reid.
So today, Chris Jones has a groin spasm. He won't practice. Pacheco with quad contusion. And then Rasheed's got a little bit of a hamstring that he tweaked in the game. And then L'Jarius with the calf will give him time to let that heal through there. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Chargers. Giff has been put in that position as a head coach. The guys are playing hard for him. And, that's we're going to have a good week of preparation. I'm going to go ahead and Pat won't play, so Blaine will take over at that spot, and then we'll rotate the other guys in as we go. So, but we look forward to the challenge of getting ready, and we got to make sure that we have a good week of preparation. So that's time's yours.
Coach, when you have a couple players moved up who aren't practicing, is it best to keep them completely out of the game, or do you want to rotate them in as well?
Yeah, I want them to rehab and get themselves ready to go as needed, So, but no difference. Stay aggressive on the rehab part of it, and we go from there.
You have a couple guys who are close to like milestones or incentives. Is that a priority this week, getting those guys into those numbers?
Yeah, it depends. Depends on what the milestone is.
Let's say it's an 8th straight 1,000-yard season.
We'll see how all that goes.
Do they have what's the conversation like when you have those?
Probably one-sided.
Andy, it certainly seemed like some quick read stuff on Sunday, maybe some just quicker stuff in general. Was that by design, and is that something you can see moving forward?
Yeah, listen, they give us an opportunity to do that. It depends on the defense that you're playing. So they were going to take away some of the deep stuff and give us a chance to get the ball out fast and do that part. But it just depends on the defense.
Andy, will the Dukin going to be up on Sunday?
Yes.
What have you seen from him in the last year, since training camp?
Yeah, listen, he works hard. He works hard every day, working to improve his game. He's obviously in all the meetings. And then I think the training camp time that he got to play was valuable for him. And then the scout team stuff, we try to, if a play is similar to what we run, we try to call it that way and run it that way. So the defense gets a real fast look at something that the other side knows.
You going to try to get him in the game?
I don't know about that. I just have to see how things go.
Andy, you got a lot of guys that are trying to impress you and the coaching staff to get some play time into playoffs with this game. What do you want to see out of those guys that are kind of the back end that are going to get this opportunity Sunday?
Yeah, well, they're going to be front end and back end playing, so you can't have everybody not play. So, but I expect them. Yeah, it's a way to build your resume in this league, and gives you an opportunity to also strengthen our team as we go into the playoffs with guys with a little more experience gained in a game like this. So that's invaluable.
You've been in this situation before, the game not mattering so much. Is it a little more difficult maybe this time around because your offense is still in flux, or maybe a work in progress? Is it you tempted a little bit more to maybe try to play some more guys?
Well, I hope that we played, okay this past game for sure, and I'm not worried about that though. No, just make sure that we're ready when that time comes, and then this group's ready for right now. So this is not a less important game. It's just different guys in important positions playing the game and playing well. So it's you don't just throw these games out. That's not what we're doing with that. We want to play well.
Sorry, what's the practice weekend look like for Pat and guys like him who aren't going to play on Sunday? Are they going to get any work, or is this going to be okay?
Yeah, they'll get work. Yeah. As long as they're healthy to get out there, they'll get work. Yeah.
How much is your? Go ahead. Do you have other guys, whether it's coaching staff in the building, that's sort of devoted to maybe whether it's self-scouting, how you treat a bye week? I mean, that's something different than what it would usually be the case.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is that we get this one where we are good with it. And then I've got some of the assistants looking at the other things, the possibilities. But the guys that are in charge of these different areas for this game are focused in on that and doing that. And so, you want to do well in this game. You want to do well, and that's how we go about it. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of what I was curious about too. Was just how much resources do you dedicate to looking towards next week, knowing there's 5 different teams that you could face?
Yeah, well, a couple of the possibilities you already know, so you can spend less time on that. But these other guys that are doing that are capable of doing that. They're in that position where they stay ahead every week for us, anyways. So now they've got a couple more teams that they have to stay ahead of. That's all right. Spend the time at it and do it, dig in, and then you can give us the information down the road.
Coach,
but that's what they do anyways, the quality control guys.
Coach, you speak about the milestones of the players. This is your 18th 10-win season, of course, with 2 different organizations. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but how often do you look back at your accomplishments in this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look back. That's dangerous in this business.
Yeah, for sure.
Very dangerous. So I look forward, and someday when I'm done, I guess then I can look back. But The only time I look back is if there was a good play back there that we want to use coming up. So, but that's about it. Yeah.
Couple more guys.
How about Blaine's season? We obviously don't get to see him much. We don't see him in practice at all. But
Yeah.
we're going to talk to him here in a minute.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, sure.
thought on
He works so stinking hard in practice. It's great to have that opportunity to go out and play. I mean, he's been a starter in the league, and so you have confidence that he knows what to do and go in there and will do well. But from a personal standpoint, I'm sure he's excited about the opportunity to get in and play instead of going out here and practicing, every day. That's that's what he does. He's not have a chance to do it in a game is great.
We've seen veterans over and over being quarterback behind Patrick. How's Blaine been that veteran and the steady voice for Patrick over his course of the season?
Yeah, no, he's done a nice job. He's done well with it. I checked with Chad, and he and Chad have a relationship. Chad thought he'd be good for that position. I didn't know Blaine, like I knew Chad, but he's jumped in and done a nice job with all that. Yeah.
Coach, for the guys who aren't playing like Patrick, how do you want them to prepare for the playoffs when they're also resting, avoiding injury, and kind of on the sideline? Are they doing more of the mental thing, or what is the key to getting ready for a playoff game when you're not playing this weekend?
Yeah, so from his standpoint, he'll look at some of the teams. That's what he does. You're not going to not have that happen. The thing you got to do, you got to practice. Go out and practice. Do your thing there. Help out the guy. Help out Blaine when he's in there, like he helps you out. And so he's got to make sure he studies this opponent. Make sure he has that down too. And that's what you do. You only have so many elevations. So if Blaine goes out and tweaks his ankle, then you got to be ready to put the uniform on and at least be out there and in a position. So that's how that goes. But where you can function.
All right. Thanks.
All right, there's Andy Reid, and we know that Blaine Gabbert will play. Patrick Mahomes will be sitting. He'll be rotating other guys in. Chris Jones not practicing today with a groin spasm. Pacheco not practicing with a quad. Rashee Rice a hamstring, and L'Jarius Sneed a calf. My guess would be none of those four guys play. If Rashee Rice is nursing a hamstring, he does not need to be out there, even though he's 58 yards away from breaking the Chiefs' rookie record for receiving yards in a season. He's, 62 yards away from 1,000 yards receiving, or 62 yards away from 1,000 on the year. And then, of course, Travis Kelce needs 16 yards, and he said, Andy Reid, we'll see. We'll see how it goes with records. And then Matt Derrick with a great one saying, well, what about specifically 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons? And we'll see. And then what's that conversation like? It's one-sided. I mean,
that feels like a slightly open door to me.
Yeah, it's one-sided.
Him saying it depends on the milestone.
It depends on the milestone. 8 straight. It also depends. 8 straight is an awesome record to have. He has the record for tight ends by 5 years. I think, did Greg Olsen have 3 years in a row of 1,000 yards receiving? So he has surpassed that, and every time he gets more, not by 5, it would be by 5 years, but he's more than doubled the next closest. Jerry Rice has 11 straight years. So it's not like this 8 years would tie or break the all-time mark for anybody. I think Mike Evans picked up his 10th consecutive year this year. He's had 1,000 yards receiving every year of his career, Mike Evans has. So do the math. He's been in the league 10 years, and he's at 1,200 yards this year.
Hope he's still able to get 1,000 with him feeding Kelce again next year.
Leading the league in touchdowns this year with 13 as well. That
only
means
one ball to go around.
3 of the last 4 years, he's had 1,000 yards receiving and at least 13 touchdowns.
Him and Kelce and Rice and Odunze is going to be a lot of mouths to feed. But
Yeah, but you got to worry about Odunze and the red flag and the issues of him in the locker room.
That's true.
What kind of person he is. Just things I've heard. Just a little... whispers.
Unfortunately, you planting that seed is only making the Chiefs more uninterested in him. So you've actually
hold on. Is this another George Pickens?
Yes.
We're not drafting that guy. I don't care how good he can be. No way. MVS blocks downfield.
We need to start.
George Pickens doesn't block downfield. We'll take MVS and his $11 million because that's one hell of a blocker. George Pickens didn't block.
Well, he's we got to start saying things like, well, he's not an overwhelming athlete, like the Chiefs. Like, oh, really? Okay, well, let's see.
And that may be what Andy Reid's saying, depending on the milestone. Okay, well, it's 8 straight. Well, is that a milestone as in like nobody's ever done that before? If this was 4 straight to where he would break Greg Olson's record, would that be more meaningful for Andy Reid? Is the milestone where Kareem Hunt needed 13 yards of, no, he's a rookie running back to lead the league in rushing? Okay, that's maybe a little bit different. And again, if Kelce had 10 years in a row already and this was to tie Jerry Rice, there ain't a doubt in my mind he would get 16 yards on Sunday.
Agreed.
They'd throw him the ball 10 times if they had to get him 16 yards to tie Jerry Rice.
And the fact that it's 16 and not 55
Right.
yards, or that if, hey, Rashee Rice has a hamstring thing, well, that's a reason to keep him out. Travis Kelce's just DNP old territory right now. And so I think that I wonder about the ramp-up period for him, how hard he would have to work to go out there and play one drive, and that's just the Travis Kelce drive. Because the original question was about incentives or milestones. I can't remember who asked the phrasing and everything. But that's when Andy Reid said, well, it depends on the milestone. I think if Travis Kelce says to Andy Reid, put me out there for one drive, give me a couple of targets, and then if I drop them, yank me. But I want to try to get 16. I think Andy Reid would say, all right, just don't go out there and get yourself hurt.
When Andy Reid says it's one-sided, 99.9% of my brain goes, well, that's Andy Reid. But then the 1% is like, it's one-sided. Kelce, do you want to play or not?
Right.
Because, I mean, I kind of feel there's a level of him earning that.
Yes, I agree.
Right? I mean, this isn't it's not rookie Rashee Rice saying, Coach, I really want 1,000
Keep me
yards.
out there for 1,000
and
yards.
I know my hamstring is barking right now, but I really want 1,000 yards receiving as a rookie. And if that means I may have to put my hamstring at risk for the freaking Dolphins game or whoever.
Yep.
No, sorry, rookie. Have a seat. You're not playing this weekend.
Yep.
And if he gets out there, he might, because of the old Jerry Rice Day, Terrell Owens situation where they were triple covering Jerry Rice on his last day as a 49er. And then Terrell Owens had a receiving record or catching record that day.
Garcia kept throwing to him over and over and
if
over
you
again.
put both of them out there, one of them should get 1,000 yards.
But it also is sort of surprising when you go back and look at Dwayne Bowe. Ended up with 995 yards receiving. Do you know how many yards receiving he had in game number 16?
No.
He ended up with 995, so he's 5 yards short. Let's say how many targets, receptions, and yards if you're throwing a dart for Dwayne Bowe. The last game he ended up needing 5 more yards. No matter how many he got, he needed 5 more yards.
I'm guessing if we're going this way, it was probably a pretty unproductive final week of the season. So I'll say it was like 3 for 35 or something.
Dylan, you want to throw a dart?
I don't know. Did he play?
He did play.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go in that ballpark, 3 for 30.
1 catch, 13 yards.
Wow.
He needed 18 yards receiving in the final game of the season for him to get to 1,000, and he ended up with 1 catch. 3 targets.
That's brutal.
1 catch. And they ended up being 4-12, so it wasn't like they were trying to make the playoffs. That was a 4-12 team. All right, here's Blaine Gabbert.
He said you'd be excited.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity. And I told the young guys at walkthrough, just have fun. A lot of guys are going to have a great opportunity to go play for the first time, make a start for the first time, right? And I've been fortunate to start quite a few games in the NFL, and these opportunities don't come around very often. And just make the most of them, have fun, cut it loose, and just go play ball.
Blaine, if you have to play in the playoffs, if you're needed then, how much will this help getting some work?
You know, it's a great dry run. Ultimately, the reason we play football is to play in the games, right? And it's a great opportunity not only for myself, but a lot of guys to maybe play in different positions that they have been throughout the year. Justin Ross, KT, McCole, these guys are going to play a significant amount this week. And it's just great to get more reps under your belt. So when your number's called, if it is called in the playoffs, we're ready to go.
We don't get to see a lot of you, obviously, since training camp. How do you feel like you've grown, even late in your
career? I feel good. It's a new system, right? So you're always working through things, and the installs are new every week, and it's just about how you prepare throughout the week, kind of week in and week out, because the game plans do change every week. And, the more or longer you're in a system, the more comfortable you are. So, it's been called 20, 25 weeks, including the summer, in this system, so it's going really well.
You mentioned the guys like Justin Ross and KT, and your position, you're probably worked a lot more with that group than the starters, as far as just running the scout team and everything. So how much more beneficial is it to you to have the guys you work with all year round?
Yeah, it's fun when you go out there and actually play meaningful football with guys that, like you said, you've gotten reps with on scout team, and now it's just kind of taking the work from the practice field to the game field, and just, like I said, go out, play fast, have fun. And those guys are phenomenal athletes. They've all played a lot of high-level football, and there's a lot of talent that they all have. And it's going to be fun to watch him play on Sunday.
Justin's probably the one that's most intriguing because
Mhm.
we haven't got to see a lot
Yeah.
of him. You've seen a lot of him.
And he's doing a great job. And we make jokes, like, you look back, he hasn't played that much football since his freshman year of college. But the amount of athletic ability that he has is extremely rare. I've been around the game for a long time, and seeing what he can do in and out of cuts, catching the football, making plays, it's fun to watch. So just getting these reps throughout the week in practice and the game's going to be extremely valuable for him as kind of his career progresses.
What changes have you seen in the Chargers defensively since you played them a few weeks ago?
It just depends. They're playing a little more split safety zone. They're playing fast. They're playing hard. And, when I've been on teams where coaching staffs change mid-year, right? And so a lot of the coaches and a lot of these players are playing not only for their jobs, but for their resume for next year, right? So this team's not going to lay down. They're playing extremely hard. They played Denver tough last week, and they're going.
Blaine, this goes back several weeks, but when Patrick in Denver was not feeling well and wasn't at the top of his game, how close do you think you were to entering that game?
I think as a starter, there's a lot of pride at being a starter, right? You never want to come out of a game, and, he was a little under the weather, and I was too. I think I was probably the one that gave it to him, but so we were both kind of battling there in Denver, not feeling good. It was cold, and yeah, that was a tough one.
Blaine, you've been around the league a long time, and of course, you know about guys that need, at the end of the season, to have personal goals, want to get their statistical in those categories. How much are these guys in your ear this week? Just to stay within the system.
The best part about the culture that we have here, there's a lot of selfless individuals. I know you're getting at Trav. He's 16 yards away from 1,000. Right. We all know that. Okay. But that's not how Trav plays. Right. He wants team success first, and he's always been that way. He genuinely loves football, and if he wants to play, he'll play. And if he's Coach Reed's decision to have him rest, he's going to rest. And ultimately, that's on Coach Reed. But if we're out there, we're going to do our damn best to get him 17 yards.
What would it mean to you, Blaine, if you are able to do that for him?
It'd be a lot of fun. I think he's got a big string of 1,000-yard seasons in a row. So,
this would be 8 in a row.
And no tight ends come even close to that. And now you're getting into the receiver talk. The Mike Evans of the world, who's done 10 or 11 straight now this year. And that's a rare, special group of individuals, Hall of Fame individuals, to kind of have that run in a row. So he may say it doesn't mean anything, but it means something for the quarterback and for this organization to get him that 1,000 yards.
You mentioned Travis Rasheed's another guy. Wants to get there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just kind of the way Rasheed's taken off this last half of the year is awesome. That's a credit to this coaching staff preparing him to be ready to play 17 games because it's a long season in the NFL. Coming from college, it's 12 games. So a lot of those guys you see hit a rookie wall and start fading in the second half of the year, but he's done a great job and really kind of caught his stride here going into the playoffs.
Blaine, big picture quarterback question. So Tom Brady, I think you're friends with him.
Yes.
He talked about how rage and anger helped him. Like he talked about how those emotions were good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious in your career, quarterbacking and being around great quarterbacks, how you think about those specific emotions, the rage and anger, and how it might clarify some people's game.
Well, I think rage and anger, if you can bottle that up, if you can harness the emotion and channel it positively, that's the best thing. And Tom always said, he's like, I have no friends on the opposing team, and it held true. I mean, he genuinely did not like the opposing team. Now, after the game, he may shake their hands if we win, but he genuinely, that's how he played the game, and he played the game at a damn high level for 22, 23 years, and that worked for him. Now, every person, every personality, every human being is different, how they get themselves ready to play, how they prepare throughout the week, and like you said, rage and anger fit him well because he knew how to channel that and bottle that up and played the best football ever for 2 decades. So everybody's different, but he channeled that pretty well.
Blaine, not that you're going to give us your game plan, but will this be using your strengths? I mean, is this a game where you're going to use the things that have worked for you and maybe a little different than what would be if Patrick were starting?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we had to talk with the coaching staff. There's a system in place here. We run Coach Reed's offense, and ultimately that's what we are going to run. Now every quarterback is different. Every quarterback does things differently. Some things better than others, et cetera, and we're just going to run our offense. Hopefully throw to the open guy, run the ball well, and score some points.
Do you throw the ball different guys have dropped passes when they've been tight spirals coming at them at 1,000 miles an hour.
Every quarterback throws the ball differently, and there's a lot of things that go into whether a pass is completed or not. And it may look very easy to an outsider looking in, but there's a lot of things that kind of go into it: windows, tight coverage, hands getting knocked down. So our receivers are going to do a great job this week, and I have full confidence in them.
Lane, you mentioned running Andy Reid's offense. Does that mean no quarterback sneaks?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll maybe do the little tush push or something, but hope not.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Blaine. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, there's Blaine Gabbert. That was fun. Good Missouri boy. Mizzou boy right there. And Missouri from the state. Mike Edwards is coming up. But, so maybe a tush push. Hopefully not with Blaine Gabbert. So a lot of interesting stuff there from Blaine. He said KT and McCole will get significant reps. Justin Ross, how invaluable the reps are in practice and what he'll get in the game. So I think we've identified 3 players that may get extensive playing time against the Chargers with Blaine Gabbert, and that being Tony Hardman and Justin Ross.
Weird that Kadarius Toney would be so injured 2 weeks in a row that he couldn't even practice, and they know this week he's going to get a lot of work. That seems like a strange strategy.
You think?
I
like the asking about a milestone, and he goes 16 yards from 1,000. We all know that.
And because he wasn't even asked about Kelsey there right yet. He just made it about Kelsey.
Yes, milestone. He goes, he's 16. Kelsey's 16 yards from 1,000. We all know that. If he wants to play, he'll play. If Reed, wants him to sit out, then he's not going to play. But I also thought it was interesting when he said it means something for the quarterback too. Yeah. He said that it would mean a lot, that he would make sure, look, if he's playing, I'm going to get you the ball. You will get the yard, because it would be cool for me to be, not me, Jason, but him.
Me, Blaine.
Blaine Gabbert. It'd be cool for me to be a part of it. It's a really cool thing for the quarterback and receiver to do that.
If you've never seen the entire secondary cover one receiver, we might see it Sunday with how everything's going during just this first press conference.
Don't care. Put it up. Just get it there.
I thought it was odd that Blaine Gabbert was like, well, he's it would be 8 in a row for the tight end. No other tight end's even close, right? Now you're getting into receiver territory, like, with Mike Evans with 10. I'm like, Blaine, hey, here's the thing. Go to the podium, stop listening to the show. Or keep listening to the show. We appreciate it. Hi, Blaine. Here's Mike Edwards.
Final week of the season. Starters, a lot of starters won't be playing. Mm-hmm. Have you been in this type of game before? And what's it like?
Yeah, last year was kind of like that for me in Tampa. We kind of clinched the division, and we played, I think it might have been Atlanta maybe, for our last game. And I kind of was a little banged up, so I didn't play that game. But kind of like the same thing here. But we see what the coaches say. It's on the coaches, so kind of prepare how we play. I prepare any other day, any other week. So prepare to win, come out there and win, and play football.
Have you been informed either way whether or not you'll be playing?
No, I mean, like I say, it's coach's decision. Probably gonna ask the coach. So if I'll play, if you want me to play, and it's whatever.
What has it been like these past couple weeks to kind of see Brian go down and them have to lean on you a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. He's a good football player. Anytime one of our players goes down, it's big. But, they trust in me. I trust in our team. I trust in our defense and our scheme. And I feel like that's what brought me here for, to fill in roles like that. And don't miss a beat, don't miss a step. Like I said, a guy like that going down is big, but just step in and play my role and try to make as many plays as possible.
When someone is injured, we don't really see them. How's Brian doing? How is he attacking stuff behind the scenes?
He's doing great. He's doing real good. He got to go back home to Cincinnati to see his family and everything, so that's good. I've been talking to him all the time. He got to be in our locker room before the game, which was big. Talked to us, gave us a pregame speech before the game, so it's good having him.
When you say us, who do you mean, the defensive backs?
Yeah, defensive backs, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. DBs.
What was his message?
Just go out there, play strong, don't worry about any outside noise. How I had that leading up to the game, but he's just saying, we all got to lean on each other on the back end, because they go test our DBs with the the receivers they have and the explosive players they have. So just tell them to get our mindset right, and which we did. So came out there with the right mindset.
What was just the emotions of the game? I mean, obviously Chase, it looked like obviously Chase and L'Jarius were pretty emotional throughout the game. What were just the emotions of those matchups?
I mean, it's an emotional game. And anytime you have like a guy like that, chipping before the game, I mean, we handled it the right way. We let him talk before the game, and we handled it on the field. I barked a little bit during the game, which is, I'm from Cincinnati, so I got to give him a little bit. But I mean, we handled it the right. I felt like we handled it the right way. They got me on the personal foul, which is whatever. But we came up with the win, and we did a pretty good job.
You mentioned the emotions; those have kind of spilled over a couple times here late on the sideline for you guys as well. I mean, it's not because you're not playing well, right? Defensively, you guys are putting up great numbers. What's the emotions like, and what's maybe kind of been behind, some of the guys barking at each other?
I mean, it's football. I mean, offense don't carry their load. We gotta worry about our side of football. I mean, I've been watching the Chiefs for many years, and you've seen the explosive offense, scoring points after points. I mean, it's not gonna be like that every game. It's not gonna be like that every season. So we gotta know that we gotta focus on our side of football because we can't control what they could do, and they can't control what we can do. So we gotta lean on each other, offense, defense, special teams, and just play our side of football and just help each other any way as possible. And we know they get the job done. They know we come to work each and every Sunday. So that's all we gotta do.
Well, and I brought up the point, statistically, you guys are one of the best defenses in football.
Mm-hmm.
But to see you guys still be that emotional to where you're going at it, is that
the
emotion a big part of what's made you guys successful?
For sure. Emotion is definitely a big part. We want to also be the number one defense. We also want to be, top defense and, create turnovers, sacks, turnovers, any way possible to be the number one defense. And just to get the ball back to our offense in many points as possible. Like I said, we just go out there and play as best football as we can.
Couple more.
You had a play early in the game. You made a big hit. You kind of stayed down for a minute, at least on television. It left a shot of you, and you were still down on the ground. Just taking the inventory of
it's a little bit.
What was going on?
It's a little bit. I got hit a little bit. I think that's when I had hit running back Chase Brown, and got caught up in the pound a little bit. But it was more so I was just stuck on the bottom of the pile, so I kind of just couldn't get up. It got 300 pounders laying on me, stuff like that, so I couldn't really get up.
You guys had a chance to finish the year as the number one scoring defense in the league. Was there anything back in OTAs that you first realized this defense could be special?
Yeah. I mean, we was making plays after play, and then going against our offense, going against Patrick Mahomes, and having me guarding Travis Kelce, he's working me, giving us great looks and everything like that. And I just seen something special from literally day one. And from meetings, Coach Spags really harped on being a focal point of defense, just helping the offense out and making plays. And they didn't even have Chris at that point, so having Chris back was obviously big. But I mean, we're not just like a one-man group. We're not a one-man show. We got players from the D line to the linebackers to the secondary. We just always play fundamentally sound defense.
So, what makes Steve Spagnuolo quality defensive coordinator? What's different about him maybe than other guys? What do you see in him?
I would say first and foremost, he's like a player's coach. He's real hands-on, and it's not many. It's not a lot of DCs like that. I just feel like he's real hands-on. Relates to his players really well. Talks to them about life things, not just football, and that's one thing I really appreciate about him. And he breaks down things a lot. He has a great game plan every week. You got to kind of study every day with his defense. It's really crazy, but that's a good thing about him. Keeps the offense on his toes. He don't really know what we're doing. We got a lot of adjustments and things that we can match to our different offenses, things like that. So I feel like he just has a great game plan, and he's a real smart coach.
Anyone else? Last one. Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
All right, there is Mike Edwards. And the emotions got high there in that Cincinnati game with Jamar Chase talking. But Brian Cook returning, apparently Brian Cook home for the holidays, I would guess, for Christmas and everything around his family in Cincinnati. So he would have been in Cincinnati when Jamar Chase was saying the things about the Chiefs, then returns to the game and the locker room, returns to the team, locker room before the game, gives the pregame speech to the players in the secondary about the outside noise and let that go. So yeah, there's that connection of Brian Cook and Mike Edwards both being from Cincinnati. I don't think they crossed paths in high school. I think Mike Edwards is just enough years older than Brian Cook that they never played against each other in high school. I remember reading a story where their high schools played every year, but I'm not sure that Mike Edwards and Brian Cook ever crossed paths and played against each other in high school. Regardless, I digress. But both being Cincinnati guys, and then the Bengals being a big deal there in Cincinnati, and Brian Cook being home when I'm guessing there was a lot of talk around Cincinnati when Jamar Chase talked about the defense. Maybe a lot of talk in the household of Brian Cook when Jamar Chase, there aren't any great players over there on that defense. We're looking at Brian. Oh, that's because you're not playing, Brian. That's why he's saying that there are no great players on that defense.
And Mike Edwards, credit to Andy Reid, was a captain, so he didn't have to go out there for the hometown game, and call it.
That's a
it was
great
just
point.
Against the team. I don't know. I don't know how that changes depending on the city, if it's a home or a road game. I just wanted to double check.
He just made him a captain.
He was a captain. Mike Edwards was a captain.
Against Cincinnati.
Against Cincy.
That makes sense. As opposed to Jair Alexander playing the Panthers, was not a captain and said, you know what, I don't care. It's my hometown. I'm going to go out there and be a captain. And I'm going to call the coin flip. And I'm going to say we want our defense out there first. And the referee's going to go, you would like to defer? You heard me.
And then I'm going to absolutely refuse to learn why what I did was wrong.
Not even going to acknowledge it.
Not even going to understand it.
Yeah. Anybody else that sort of really put their listening ears on when he was asked about Brian Cook, how he's doing, to see if there was any indication of, is it season ending? Is he rehabbing, close? Is there any? He didn't say anything like that would be we just can't wait to get him back, or, nothing along those lines. But I was certainly listening even more intently, is there, is an indication, one word, a tone, an inflection?
Even him just saying he was back in Cincy, for me, I was like, well.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I don't know if it was to see family, which you could do if you're not planning on returning super soon, or if it's doing specific recovery and therapy closer to home, which you probably wouldn't necessarily do if it wasn't an extended absence. So yeah, none of that felt like great news.
Yeah, I would guess that if he can head home and do some rehab and stuff with maybe somebody that he works with, if there was he's going to return this year, I think it would be you're doing that here in-house.
And your practice window would be opening now. Yeah. I mean,
pretty much
close. On a practical level, it would have to be pretty soon.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's tough. Good news, I guess, as opposed to another safety who got hurt really late in the year. Juan Thornhill was still coming back from the ACL. I mean, it wasn't really until the training camp after an entire season when he fully acknowledged, if memory serves, that he really kind of felt actually 100%, and then he never really got to that 100% line before that. And that's why Dan Sorensen ended up playing a lot more that first year back from injury for Thornhill. That was all ACL and ligament stuff. I don't know if we ever got the full laundry list of what exactly went wrong with Brian Cook, but it wasn't knee tendons. So hopefully his return is complete by the offseason activities and all.
So the point about the Chiefs being able to lead the league in points allowed defensively, I have not looked to see how many defensive touchdowns have been scored against the Ravens or the 49ers. But right now the Chiefs are sitting at 17.6 points per game defensively. It's third in the NFL. The 49ers are 17.3 and the Ravens are 16.4. If you eliminate the 21 points scored off of defenses scoring against the Chiefs offense, the Chiefs would be at 16.3 right now. So they would actually be leading the league in scoring defense at 16.3, Ravens 16.4. But again, that's without me knowing if there were touchdowns scored against the Ravens offense, if defenses scored that counted for the Ravens.
It's pretty rare. There's no way it's happening multiple times a year to teams, right?
Certainly not in one game.
Certainly not. I mean,
certainly not a game.
Certainly not in back-to-back plays. That's never happened.
No. Well, it wasn't back-to-back. There was an extra point.
Back-to-back plays from scrimmage.
There was a kickoff.
Yeah.
Back-to-back. What are you talking about? We will we'll take a timeout, and we will be back as we'll continue talking some Chiefs football. I do want to get into reasons or excuses. I want to talk about that on the other side, and we have plenty of excuses as to why we have Mick Schaefer on Wednesdays.
But no good reasons.
None whatsoever. But we'll talk with him at 1 o'clock regardless, no matter what. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, so I did a little quick math. Little and quick math.
Quick math.
I talked about the Chiefs and having the 3 defensive touchdowns scored against them this year. It's only 3, right? It's the Lions and then 2 for the Raiders, correct?
I think so.
There hasn't been a punt return touchdown or anything. I'm not counting the Chiefs turned the ball over at their own 10-yard line, and then they kicked a field goal. Well, the defense was out there. It sucks, but it's reality. Defense was out there. Just specifically the points scored when special teams or the offense was on the field. And the extra points will go against the defense as well. Just, again, trying to make it as simplistic as possible. So taking away the 21 points scored by the opposition's defense as opposed to the opposition's offense against the Chiefs would be at 16.3 points per game instead of 17.6, which the Baltimore Ravens are at 16.4. So you would say, well, that makes them number 1. Except Baltimore has had 20 points scored against them by special teams and opposing defenses. There have been a punt return. There's been a pick 6. The Cleveland Browns, remember when the Ravens were nursing a 14-point lead and Lamar threw a pick 6 to the Browns?
Yeah.
And then the Browns eventually came back with Deshaun Watson's broken shoulder before Joe Flacco took over. And elite Joe Flacco, who's not playing this weekend because they're resting their elite quarterback.
Unreal.
They don't want to get their elite quarterback injured. They're paying him way too much money. It's fully guaranteed money for Joe Flacco this year.
Also, you just have to assume that Joe Flacco has a finite amount of wizard magic left, whatever deal he made with the genie. It's just give me 6 more great games, and hey, I can take this one off. I'm gonna take this one off.
It was actually just Christina Aguilera, that genie in a bottle. So the Baltimore Ravens have had 2 defenses, 2 touchdowns, 1 a pick 6, 1 a punt return. And then they have had 3 safeties this year.
3.
2 with Lamar Jackson. One of those was the tripping penalty in the end zone. That was a safety. So 3 safeties. It's 20 points. The Ravens would be at 15.2. So the Chiefs are 1.2 points behind the Ravens. They'd be 1.1 if you took out the defensive scores. I mean, come on. Why are we not reality of 1.1? Why are we talking about 1.2?
It should be easier to sort defensive points allowed. That should be the metric here.
I agree. The Ravens 16, just in general on the season, Ravens 16.4, Chiefs 17.6. They're in third. The 49ers sitting there at 17.3. What would be concerning if you're the Chiefs defense that you want to go out there and, lead the league in scoring defense is with the backups on offense. There might be some more turnovers and shorter fields for the opposition, and you can't do anything about that. Like the defense leaves the field and they're up 7-3. The defense returns to the field the next time they're down 17-7. That's rough. The defense did not. Well, sorry, there was a 2-point conversion in there. Right. Sorry about that. Crazy in that game. So.
This weekend will be an interesting test of depth because it's going to be Easton Stick versus Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. We are not going to see L'Jarius Sneed. Nope. There's no chance. And we probably aren't going to see any Chris Jones, and we might not see any George Karlaftis, Charles Minahu, or Mike Dana.
I mean, again, FAU should play 90% of the snaps. Yep. FAU, I hope you are keeping it in as good a shape as possible.
Yes.
While you're not playing those reps.
B.J. Thompson, let's just see it.
Let's go. Let's go. FAU.
Neil
B.J.
Farrell,
Thompson out
who
there.
are you?
Farrell, let's see him out there. Backups. Seems like a good game for Cochran to get in there, get the green dot.
Yep.
Get some more play calls. Echo Boydo, see him get out there and
play some corner.
Play some cornerback, get ready just in case. You never know. Wanya Morris at left tackle. Let's continue to see what he looks like at left tackle. And Donovan Smith, one more week to rest. And after the first week of Wanya Morris filling in for Donovan Smith, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to see him. And I'm ready to see Donovan Smith returning too.
Yeah.
At left tackle, think
There's
Wanya
at least
Morris.
hope there. Wanya is not a finished product. Donovan Smith is.
Right. You've seen some flashes from Wanya Morris. He can spend the offseason practicing and training to be the left tackle, and hopefully can get to a point to where he's improved to where you can trust him a little bit. I mean, he got beat pretty quickly by Trey Hendrickson on the strip sack fumble and Mahomes was getting ready to fire it to Travis Kelce for a first down, but didn't happen. And Wanya just got beat by a phenomenal pass rusher.
Yep.
And he has gone up against two of the really good pass rushers, one who is constantly talked about as one of the best in the NFL in Max Crosby, and one who is constantly should be in the conversation of most underrated and not discussed enough. Because I've seen enough of Trey Hendrickson against the Chiefs to know that that guy is damn good. And that's a tough ask if you're Wanya Morris, because they didn't ship, they didn't help. It was just, you gotta go and win. And he lost fast. On that one, he didn't even really have to win. He just had to not get whipped.
A nice slow death would have been fine.
Yeah, he just had to offer some sort of a deterrent and not Hendrickson reaching out and just moving Wanya Morris's hands away. Like the hand swipe from Hendrickson, timing it up with Wanya getting ready to punch, was just brilliant. I mean, that's why he's making the money he is and is one of the best. It was just boom. See ya. There's a. I'm gonna go knock the football out. Our ball. I'm just gonna jog off the field. Then I'm not gonna run down to the end zone and do that. Strip, Zach. They got it. Cool. Run off the field. Just going about my business in Trey Hendrickson. He's been one of the most underrated and probably what is one of the most underrated free agent signings in the last few years, because he's done so much for that Bengals defense. And Lou Anarumo, what he's done. Mike Hilton, free agent signing the same year they got Hendrickson. Those have been pretty good for them. So, yeah, Wanya Morris, I'm ready to see Donovan Smith return. But there's the updated numbers, if you want to call them that. But Chiefs in third place for defensive scoring this year. So, excuses and reasons. We talked about it during the summer about the schedule that came out for the Chiefs, and when the schedule first came out, about the second half of the year when teams had extra days of rest. And in the past, we've noted those things, and there hasn't been a connection. Like, there hasn't been to where if a team had 3 or 4 days extra, 3 days extra rest, whatever, playing a Thursday night game or 1 day extra, it hasn't been to a point that it was like, look, they've won all 4 of these games this year. They've lost. It's been split for the most part the last couple of years, keeping track of those and seeing what they look like. There hasn't really been that connection between those things. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't put much credence into the conversation about what took place at the end of the season in the Chiefs' schedule. That the back end, until they played the Chargers, that they were going to have 6 straight games where the opposition was going to have more rest than the Chiefs did. And now that conversation has come up the last couple of days. Mitch Holtis tweeting it out, Tuesday? So yesterday during the day or whatever. And then, maybe it was Monday, I'm not sure. Tweeted Peter Schrager and Field Yates and different people about that. And that's, brought up the conversation yet again. We've had a couple of times. And I think the reaction is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the quote tweets to that are one of two. Either one of two close extremes. Either the NFL is screwing the Chiefs and they're trying to keep the Chiefs from going to the playoffs and making a run, or, cry more. The Chiefs are making more excuses, blah, blah, blah. I don't think the Chiefs themselves as a team is looking at it and going, well, what are we supposed to do? Because these teams have 3 extra days rest. And to put the numbers out there, before the Bengals game, they played 4 straight games against teams that played either Thursday night football the week before or were coming off a bye with Buffalo. I think an excuse is used to completely avoid responsibility. An excuse of, well, this is why that happened. Okay, so you have no responsibility then in playing a role in what took place. Well, that's why the Chiefs, in those 4 games of Green Bay, Buffalo, New England, and Vegas, they went 1-3. Because of that, that's why. Okay, well, now you're dismissing and absolving yourself of any responsibility whatsoever. And I think a reason can be, maybe natural occurrence isn't the right term, but a natural occurrence outside of your control that factors into it. But a reason also, I think, accepts form of responsibility and your role in that while including action items. Like, these are the reasons it happened, and this is how I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. Well, excuses, well, that's why it happened and not my fault at all. I think there could be a little bit of both in this, and that might be straddling the fence. I think they could be using it as an excuse. I don't think the Chiefs would, but Chiefs fans, whatever. Oh, it's an excuse, so this is why they played well. But I do think it could be a reason as to why they would lose some close games, or Buffalo's coming off a bye and they win the game by 3 against the Chiefs. Could it be, Josh, that, how often have we said, boy, the Chiefs look tired out there. Chiefs look sluggish. Do they look sluggish in that specific game against that team because that team played Thursday Night Football, and as Travis Kelce called it, a mini bye, a half bye? He loves Thursday Night Football games because you get a half bye week. So that would be a half bye week, a bye week, a half bye week, and a half bye week, 4 weeks in a row. Is that why the Chiefs look sluggish? I don't know. Could be a reason, but it does not absolve them of going 1-3 in that stretch.
And they just wouldn't be, quote unquote, sluggish if Kadarius Toney on the most electric play of the year is lined up an inch backwards. Does anyone think that he
mentally tired?
Right? Did he make that mental mistake all game and all year because he's been mentally exhausted? I don't think so.
Imagine if Buffalo didn't have the bye week. Kadarius Toney would have lined up on sides.
That's kind of what you're saying. Like, that's kind of not you, but that's kind of the argument is like, well, if they had this time differential and it really paid off this way. I don't think a little bit of a rest disparity is the reason that 2022 Marquez Valdez-Scantling did not appear on this year's team. Like, if that guy is on this team, if he catches a couple of those deep passes, were the referees sluggish? Were they on a short week when they didn't call a mugging inside the 10? Like, that would have been a spot where maybe the entire inflection of the season would have changed. And so Warren Sharp, or someone at Sharp Football Analysis, did the whole Excel sheet on Sharp Football Analysis' website at the beginning of the season. So some games flexed here and there, so this could have changed a tiny bit, but at the beginning of the year, the Chiefs did have, and I believe still would, have the 3rd worst rest ratio in football. So they had a -13 in terms of rest days as opposed to their opponent. They had +4 and +3 because they had one of those Thursday night games. They played someone coming off a Thursday night at one point, and they didn't get a huge advantage because they and the Eagles were both coming off a bye for that game, right?
The Chargers game was the issue because the Chiefs played Thursday Night Football the week before, and Chargers played Monday Night Football.
So weird.
That was the Chargers got screwed.
That's your 4 there, then, I guess.
Yeah, that's the 4. That's where the Chargers were like, okay, if you want to talk about the NFL has it out for the Chiefs, that they're trying to benefit the Chiefs, don't look at the refs. Look at the schedule in this particular matchup where a huge game, healthy Justin Herbert, AFC West, Chargers are going to win the AFC West this year. It's going to happen finally. And the Chargers play Monday Night Football, and the Chiefs play Thursday Night Football the week before that. And now they're going to Kansas City.
And because they end up playing the Eagles off a bye, and that's a flat one, unless there's like one day different, which I don't think there was. But so, no. There's now not the big +7 that most teams have.
Except people would say, well, the Chiefs were in Germany. And Philadelphia wasn't.
Sure.
Chiefs were in Germany flying back off a bye.
And the Chiefs
so they
get
had
to put input on where they want that bye. They could have taken their bye before the Dolphins game. Yeah. Obviously, they win that game, so no one's complaining about it. But the teams below them with worst ratios, the Rams, I guess LA, I'm actually guessing that LA means Rams. LAC is above them. There you go. So the Rams end up with a -17. They have an even worse ratio, but they've also had their ups and downs. They're a playoff team, though. And then at -20 is the San Francisco 49ers, who have handled it okay. And that's with Christian McCaffrey, who gets banged up. That's with a young quarterback that is probably wanting as many reps as he can mentally to prepare for teams every week. That's with Debo and George Kittle, who are frequently, Trent Williams, frequently battling injuries, and guys who have needed time to get ready and have struggled with injuries their whole careers. Williams more recently. But this, to me, still slants, not even excuse, because as opposed to reason. It slants meaningless more than anything because it's also not something that does accumulate like this where the Chiefs are playing. If you want to go matchup by matchup, hey, this team had an extra week to prepare. How is that going to pan out? Totally fair game. 100% fair game. Do they have to speed up their prep? Do they not get to throttle back a little bit Monday, Tuesday if they play on Christmas and have to get ready again for New Year's Eve? I'm sure there are crunches that can show up. It's not meaningless as a metric or as something to look into. Meaningless is the wrong word because what I really think it comes down to is that most of the things you've seen from most of the Chiefs, I just don't think correlates here. Again, because we're talking about MVS catching footballs, Kadarius Toney lining up on sides. the guys that I do think it could matter for could be the coaching staff, could be physically Travis Kelce, but his biggest issue isn't short weeks. His biggest issue is that he got hurt the last practice before the season started. So his entire health timeline is fundamentally different.
Yeah, like that would be they're constantly playing short weeks, which would be hard to do to constantly play short weeks because you're not playing on a Monday, then a Sunday, then a Thursday, then a Sunday again. Like it's not how it works. You can't have 6 straight weeks of playing on a short week. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
This isn't to where, well, Travis Kelce looks slow because they've had these constant short weeks. He looks a step slow, and it's not because the opposition played a Thursday night football when they played Sunday, and that team had 3 extra days of rest. That's not what we've seen from this team. The issues that are going on with what has been a problematic as to why they've been struggling and more anemic offensively.
And the NFL should have a second bye week. There's no reason to have one bye week in a 17-game season. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to see that until they make it 18 games, which I don't feel like we need, but whatever. The NFL scheduling.
20-game season. Let's just
I think that'd be
more
fantastic.
football.
Well, Jason, it's already 20 because of the preseason games. That's what they didn't actually add games. They just made one of them count.
Great point.
Yeah, a great point. But there's a bell curve to this and how the NFL is trying to distribute rest days. There is a math that goes into all of it. And, we've seen that Amazon Web Services commercial enough to know that you can run through a billion different iterations pretty instantly.
Yeah, and the NFL was like, let's just do one. Great, this is the one. Who has time to run through some more and look at all this stuff? Let's just go.
I think this can be a fragment of a stained glass window of what has gone wrong this season. This is one shard to me. It worth talking about, certainly worth knowing, but and please completely miss me with the NFL's just screwing the Chiefs. The NFL doesn't, there's been these calls that have hurt the Chiefs, and also they don't give them any rest anymore because it's the Chiefs and the Niners and the Rams as your bottom 3. The NFL would love for all 3 of those teams to be playing deep into the playoffs. And all 3 of them are at least going to be playing into the playoffs despite them having that negative rest in common.
Because if you think the NFL is trying to screw the Chiefs, you should ask every other fan base outside of Kansas City what the NFL is doing, regardless of the Kadarius Toney flag, which was the right call, and MVS, which was not the right call, and Brad Allen and his crew there, or Bengals fans that look at it and say the intentional grounding on Jake Browning is all the evidence you need about the NFL helps the Chiefs constantly win games. On that, I don't think it was intentional grounding. I thought it was a bad call. I don't think it helped the Chiefs win the game against the Bengals, but, regardless.
If only we had some examples of the NFL just being bad at enforcing its own rules.
Yeah, who could find those, though? It would take a whole lot of research to go and find the NFL doing some NFL officials just completely dropping the ball on objective rules enforcement.
Impossible. Would never happen.
And getting the wrong team, the drive before that with the Cowboys on a tripping call. When Aiden Hutchinson tripped Tony Pollard, and they called it on Jake Ferguson for tripping. I mean, that would have been a first down, and they would have ran out the clock, and we wouldn't have had the Lions go and score in the 2-point conversion if Brad Allen's crew would have just simply got the right leg.
But they'll take accountability for that when it comes
They will.
up.
Yeah, that's right.
They'll do a whole press conference with everyone being able to ask questions.
And they'll say, well, really, what we saw was that Jake Ferguson's leg was sticking out to trip Hutchinson, and Hutchinson lost his balance from getting tripped, which is why his leg flew towards Tony Pollard's leg in a real demonstrative way that made it look like he was tripping, but in fact he was the one that got tripped. And we're not tripping at all. This is just we're perfectly fine.
Once you let basic physics go, being an NFL referee is very easy.
Absolutely. Last one on this, and we'll take a break. I do wonder if there is an accumulation effect. So anecdotally, as we've talked about, okay, this week 4, they've got 3 extra days rest versus this team. Okay, did it matter or not? Week 7, they've got 3 or 2 fewer days rest in this team. Okay. But, 5 games in a row where the opposition had at least 2 days or more, 3 for Green Bay, Thursday night football for Green Bay, bye week for Buffalo, Thursday night football for New England. These are the week before. Vegas, Thursday night football, and then Cincinnati played on Saturday, and the Chiefs played on Christmas Day against Vegas. Is that part of the reason, not excuse, part of the reason why there might be slower starts, where the Chiefs find themselves behind? Or would that be more indicative of, hey, late in the game, they just don't have it because this other team had the extra rest and they're fresher? I don't know. Not playing in the NFL, but I do know Travis Kelce loves the Thursday night games, and Jason Kelce disagrees because he doesn't like the quick turnaround, but Travis calls it a mini bye. That, no, Thursday games, get them done, and then you get the mini bye week that's there. Well, if that's the case, they would be going up against mini bye, bye week, mini bye, mini bye. It'd be 4 in a row, and they went 1-3 in that stretch.
It's also nice to have them. We don't know what it means to go against them. Like, what is it? Is it just refreshing? Is it you spend an extra day at home on the couch and you feel a little more spry? I bet it still hurts when Willie Gay hits you. Like, I bet that's still unpleasant when that eventually happens.
Right.
So, I don't know. There's enough randomness to all of it, and there are enough very obvious reasons the Chiefs have lost these games that I just think this is pretty far down my priority list.
But what's great though is if the Chiefs play the Texans, Colts, or Steelers, they would be playing a team in the first round that it would have 1 extra day of rest.
Well,
because those teams play Saturday.
Yeah, that's, create your own rest. That's what they're doing now.
But the Chiefs are not playing a game this weekend that has playoff implications, so they are actually going to be more rested than the team they'll be playing against. We'll see if that makes a difference. We'll take a timeout. More so next. sports director.
Hope he gets here in time.
Well, if he doesn't, he'll just make up some excuse. Can't be a reason. Oh, there's a reason I stopped. There's a reason I left late. There's some excuse, you know. Oh my goodness. I had 3 extra hours of work last night than you guys did. This is 4 days in a row where I've had to work longer hours than you. That's why I'm showing up unprepared.
When do you think the last week was that Mick felt like he was properly rested through?
72? 1972? Oh, 2002. 2002.
Pre-kids.
Yeah, pre-kid.
Does that mic work?
It doesn't. No.
Hey,
doesn't.
Dylan, will you please turn on Mick's microphone in 10, 9,
yeah, don't turn it on.
8, 7?
Just leave it off.
You want to use my mic, Mick?
So anyway, as I was saying, the last time I was doing...
all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
Mick, I'm trying to look. Did you bring like a backpack or anything in here?
I have it in my car. Why?
Oh, does your hat match your bag?
It does not. Why?
Okay. I didn't know if you were swag surfing today.
No, I don't know what that is. Why?
I love enthusiastic. I don't know. I'll ask.
Enthusiastic, quick.
I
and
try to
what?
learn something every day. I haven't learned anything yet today. This will be it.
3 best words in the language. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? I want to learn. I don't know. It's what makes kids great. They just don't know, and they are just trying to soak up the world. I don't know. They're not afraid to say that. Josh never said that in the history of his life. Has never said that he knows everything.
Take that back. I already learned something today.
I don't know. What is it?
I learned that my dog can walk the entire half-mile route of her walk with most of a turd just hanging out of her butt. And so that happened today. She eats grass a lot. And that's something when they sick, they eat grass. Threw up the grass yesterday. The other end got the grass today, just clumped it all up, really constipated. And it really messed up her gait and everything. So I learned, like, that's not coming out. So you're going to be in the backyard all day.
How'd you see when you got back? Still dealing with it?
So wife and daughter had given her a bath and extracted it.
I'm done with my follow-up.
Which I also learned that they would do that. I'm usually the puke and poop guy in the house, and they took care of it. So I really
you personally
appreciated that.
or cleaning it up?
Cleaning it up.
Okay.
I'm the only one that doesn't gag and throw up.
I'm usually the guy that my wife and daughter have to clean up after. I'm usually the puke and poop guy.
I wish I would have got to me before the show, Mick, and now I have to get a new learned. So
I got to get a new best. Josh, you need a new funniest?
No, we're doing great.
So the poop stuff and
right.
learning this, what you're about to tell me, will be number 2.
Well,
so to speak.
The hat ever matching the bag is from the song Swag Surfing.
Oh.
Which
is
I
that
am
Maroon 5? Who sings that?
Creed, actually. I am Jack Harlow. He sang it at halftime
Right.
of the Lions.
Louisville's best.
Thanksgiving. When everybody was like, who the hell's Jack Harlow?
Louisville's best.
Would they pay $10 for this set? He just keeps staring into a camera. That's it. There's no change of scenery, nothing. But I'm going on record. I'm going to be wrong about this, but that's okay. Going on record as saying that if the Chiefs win a couple of games in the playoffs, this will be sort of their new mantra, where the Rangers had Creed. They played a lot more games in baseball. Obviously, Rangers had Creed. Because of this happening, let's play the clip, if we can, from the game on Sunday against the Bengals when Willie Gay felt like the energy was getting down a little bit on the sideline in the stadium, and he decided he was going to call into Casey Kasem and have a long-distance request from the sideline up to the those running the sound and the music there at Arrowhead Stadium. And here's Willie Gay talking into one of the NFL cameras.
Hey, camera. Hey, tell them to play on Swag Surf. Tell them, pass the word up, tell them to play Swag Surf. We really need that. Go on, send a text message out, tell them to play Swag Surf. Tell them. After the next defensive stop.
They're playing it now. This is now the sideline for the Chiefs.
Well done. Good communication.
That's Pacheco, by the way. He's very excited. Rashee Rice, Kelsey, Willie Gay, the sideline was going crazy. That was at the 2-minute warning when that came out and played. The Chiefs got 3 sacks on the next 4 plays defensively. Wow. And this morning, Travis Kelsey, I didn't cut this clip, but this morning, Travis and Jason Kelsey on New Heights, Jason was asking Travis about, so what's the Swag Surfing? And Kelsey said, well, I mean, it's a song we've had and we've listened to and everything, but, you know, and so now that Willie Gay specifically requested that, the Chiefs defense goes out there, gets 3 sacks in 4 plays. My guess is that when the Rangers have Creed and everything and it just sort of spawns out of nowhere organically, that this might be the song. This came out in 2009, by the way.
Yeah, it's Little Wayne.
That's
no.
FLY,
It's FLY.
Fast Life Youngsters.
Yes, that's right.
YUNGSTAZ. Just you learned something else today.
Which is great because Willie Gay was like 10 years old when the song came out. Swag surf. We need swag surfing because when I was 10 years old, that's what got me ready to go for Pop Warner football.
It's not helping the argument that the Chiefs. It's not that like they're lacking motivation. Apparently they are. But just the right song.
I need a
can
feel.
Get them just go dominate.
We need something. We need a feel. Now, in their defense, they didn't give up a point in the second half. They just happened to go out there and then just get sack after
when
sack
other songs
after
are
sack.
playing, like "Start Me Up" and Black Betty.
Whoa, Black Betty, Bramble Ham. That's Joe Tooney's like, can we get some Black Betty in here? Let's go. Where's Black Betty when
Swag
we need her?
surfing, bam to lamb to limb.
Jack Cochran's like, who's got Betty Davis eyes? Somebody give me some Betty Davis eyes somewhere. Where is Kim Carnes in the house? Let's hear this. Come on.
I think they do need a new song though, right? Because they've had you got to fight for your right to party. It's
got them through the first couple of years in the Super Bowl.
It's wearing out, right?
Yeah, it's not the energy of this team at all. It is not the vibe of this team anymore.
Because the vibe of this team is defense and flying all over the field and hitting you and having swag and almost feeling like they're surfing across the
and
field.
making sure they have some time in like late January where they can go to a nice tropical location and surf.
That's exactly.
Was it 2 years ago? Was it 21 when Kelsey and those guys were like, "We got a swagger back"? Remember that from that one
Kelsey.
meme?
I think I got my swagger back.
That
they didn't get their swagger back.
They got
after
their
that
swag
one.
surf back.
I think that was 2020.
I felt like
no, it was
they
2021.
21. They struggled. And
it was
then they
21,
got
and it
right.
was against the Chargers, and it ended up being in the bracket of sound, and I don't remember what seed it was, but it was definitely in the bracket of sound that year in 2022's bracket of sound. But yes, that was from 2021. I think I got my swagger back because that guy who was
was an old clip too.
Who was friends with him though? That guy went to high school with somebody on the Chiefs that year.
That's right. I think it was a Detroit team or a Michigan
you guys
team
are
or something like that.
extremely close. I cannot quite put these two puzzle pieces
and then
together.
we were talking about like they were then they were going to Cincinnati, and apparently that guy was around the area in Cincinnati, so we're like, oh, the Chiefs are going to have that guy there. They got to have that guy. If they're getting their swagger back, they got to have that guy like on the sideline or whatever. They didn't really embrace that. They sort of went on, and then they lost to Cincinnati.
I guess Frank Clark.
Jawan Nelson was the origin here. He's 23 and last played organized football as a junior in high school. He's a former prep teammate with Mike Dana.
Michigan,
that's right. Cincinnati, like I said. Where's Mike Dana from originally? Cincy, hopefully, something like that. Did they go to Cincinnati after the Chargers?
Didn't he start at like
whatever?
Eastern Michigan? Didn't he stay in state?
Yeah, I think he just had 1 year at Michigan.
He was born in Detroit, so.
Oh, okay.
That's funny.
Good to know. Yeah, so he went to De La Salle College in Warren, Michigan, not Cincinnati. So I was close. Maybe it was a different place that they went to.
Look, I think you're right. So he was born in Detroit and then played at Central Michigan, and then the Chiefs drafted him. So I think this could be from Cincy. Maybe Mike Dana spent like some formative teen years in Cincinnati.
I kind of feel like you're being sarcastic.
Me? On this show?
I'm picking up a tone from you that I feel like it's a little rude.
I think I got my sarcasm back.
They didn't get their swagger back, though, after that Chargers game. So, yeah, they played the Steelers the next week after they beat the Chargers 34-28. Steelers, they beat 36-10.
Back-to-back Steeler games.
And then they went to Cincinnati and lost.
Almost back-to-back.
They beat Denver with the scoop and score, Melvin Ingram, Nick Bolton, scoop and score fumble there. And then they beat the Steelers 42-21. And then a phenomenal Bills game in the divisional round, 13 seconds. And then they stopped playing football that year. After
they
that,
played the next half. They played the next half.
They canceled the rest of the season at halftime. The rest of the season just got canceled. It sucks. Those things happen. But it was another COVID issue. That took place in 2021. Yeah, a year later, but they went ahead and canceled the rest of the season. They crowned the Rams champions, right? Just
they went ahead
for the sake of argument. They flipped a coin, right? And they gave it to the Rams. Totally, the Chiefs would have won it. Yeah,
next to it,
I think if they played out the rest of the game, they would have beat the Bengals by 3 touchdowns, and then they would have destroyed the Rams. But they didn't do that, so you don't really know. It's like the Jayhawks in 2020 could have won the national title that year.
Hang a banner.
There's like 5 teams that are like, we would have won it. We won it that year.
Yeah, because the number 1 seed always wins.
Number 1 overall seed has won 17 years in a row, I think. 18.
Is that right?
Is it every year since 1905?
It's crazy that the UConn was the number 1 overall seed, but they got an 11 seed when they won it.
Yeah, and they were a number 1 overall seed this last year, but they ended up being like a 4.
Yeah.
So they just changed. They just put a little L next to the 1 just for S's and G's, just to see what it would look like if anybody would notice. Nobody did. Nobody noticed. The number 1 overall seed ended up winning the tournament this last year. So there you go. There's my prediction of a new mantra of swag surfing.
Swag surfing. Play it every break between each possession.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe the offense should find a song too.
It'll be the Chiefs Sandstorm,
like Renegade in Pittsburgh.
See, there you go.
Play it when we need a boost.
Absolutely.
I wish the Chiefs would pick their favorite Taking Back Sunday song.
Yeah,
that's what I would prefer.
Or just a song. Yeah, okay. I didn't know. Is that also was that Young Boy?
No.
NBA?
No. Taking Back Sunday is cute without the E. Make damn sure they had some bangers. Last summer, man.
I'm gonna take your word for
early
that.
2000s. I mean, we all agree that's the music peaked, right?
It's funny though. Oftentimes, championship teams they need a song to accompany them to the championship. So, 1738 with the Royals, right?
That's right. Yeah. Chiefs of 2019, the "Take Me Home" Pat Mahomes.
Was it 05 White Sox that had the Sopranos song or the "Don't Stop Believin'"? Right?
Yep. I think that was 05. Jermaine Dye in the house.
The full title of the Taking Back Sunday song I just mentioned is actually the full title is "Cute Without the E" (parentheses cut from the team). Maybe that's just MVS's song.
I haven't understood a word you've said, like the last paragraph.
Most of them have been English words that you should at least understand.
French? I know. Yeah. I hear the words, but then when they're put together, when you bundle them, I just don't.
Is that Portuguese?
Is that a Mahomes and Maato deal? I'm sorry.
No, there's a lot of things you can
bundles.
bundle. You don't have to bundle just insurance. You can
defensive,
bundle up.
Defensive touchdowns.
You can bundle 2 of those.
Somebody's.
Wish I had insurance against that.
How do you score 2 defensive touchdowns in 7 seconds? You bundle them.
There it was. I couldn't remember. I'm glad you did it because I would have butchered the hell out of that by trying to remember that. I'm just going to paraphrase here, but it has something to do with bundling and scoring defensive touchdowns. Pause for laughter. Didn't land. Damn it. You'll have to take my word for it. You had to be there. It was really good. It was a really good tweet. If you were in the situation I was in when you read that tweet, you would have laughed your butt off, man. So good. I believe Josh is speaking Portuguese. That's what you were thinking of.
This isn't important, but it is awesome to say out loud. Starting at quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams in Week 18, Carson Wentz.
Okay. Nice.
This is going to be a nice little trip down quarterback memory lane. We're going to have Joe Flacco is sitting.
This
Carson
year,
Wentz is
the starting quarterbacks we've had.
By the way, with Blaine Gabbert, it means that only 2 teams have started the same quarterback all year. With Blaine Gabbert now starting for the Chiefs, 2 teams have started the same quarterback all year. Do you know who they are?
Jalen Hurts.
Ravens.
And Lamar Jackson. Is that right? Did Hurts miss a game?
Either one of those are right?
No.
Or do you know the answer, Jason?
I saw a graphic, and now I'm questioning that graphic.
Is it maybe AFC?
Because I'm thinking like Jalen Hurts. No, it wasn't AFC.
Is it started every game or play? I don't.
Taking every snap, maybe?
Oh, you know what? I think that's maybe it.
Okay, well,
maybe
then either way,
snap.
if we're not right about those 2.
I think it's taking every.
Did Dak do it?
Purdy?
No, the other 2 were, Purdy.
Purdy got.
Yeah, because Sam Darnold had to come in.
Sam Darnold action in there.
The graphic I saw was Jared Goff and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were the only 3 that had started every game this year. But I could have gotten that one wrong.
Maybe every snap.
Paraphrasing the bundling. Well, I guess if you bundle the quarterbacks, maybe that's what it is. I think it might have been every snap.
But did Gabbert come in for that Bears game?
He did. Yeah, so it wouldn't have been that. So it was. There were 3 teams they showed. It was Mahomes, Goff, and Josh Allen. We'll find it in a couple of weeks. It doesn't matter. Can we just can we go back and erase the last few minutes or so?
Mick, here's a question for you. Only 7 tight ends have had 8 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Can you name them all? Sports or leisure?
Travis Kelce.
That's one.
Travis Trelsey.
2.
2.
Trelsey Trailer.
3.
Mr. Swift.
4.
Actually,
Mr. Pfizer.
5. You need 3 more.
Jason's little brother.
6.
Travis Trailer is also my favorite country artist.
The lead singer of Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Right?
7.
Okay, and...
Can you get the last one? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, this punk that got kicked off the football team at Cincinnati.
Yes.
That's right. We don't even need the name. We just need you just need to know who it was. I believe smoking weed on Bourbon Street maybe is one of the reasons why we would have accepted that. Weed smoker on Bourbon Street. We would have also accepted that as well. So reality TV star.
Yeah.
We would have accepted that too. Those are the 8?
I think it's 8. Yeah, 8. Famously.
Do that.
Now I'm trying to figure out what graphic you saw and what it, because now I want to know what it actually is.
I don't know. I'll try to find it in a little bit. So I think it was during the Chiefs game, so maybe I'll just scan through on the rerun.
There's
of
a
the,
longer
broadcast.
list of quarterbacks to start every game this season. This is not including those that just got benched.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Again, doesn't matter.
But what a year. I mean, everything's upside down this year, right? The MVP was just there for the taking for anyone, really.
Any quarterback.
But if Patrick has a normal Patrick season, he runs away with it, right? There's no competition there. And then all these other things that happen every year, like Andy Reid always wins the opener. Andy Reid always wins the game after a bye. Andy Reid always dominates in December.
Chiefs always have an opening drive touchdown.
All Patrick Mahomes needed was a great defense.
Oh, my God.
Just give him time in the pocket.
Famous
What
words,
is happening?
man. Yeah, that is so true. Imagine Mahomes with the top 5 defense.
Right.
Now imagine Mahomes with the top 5 defense and guys who catch the ball.
Can't do it, actually. My
That
brain
actually
just,
is
my brain's busted.
unimaginable.
Problem is that it's those same guys. They're on the top 5 defense, and they're on defense, and they can't play offense.
What's MVS when he drops the ball? Like, well, that's why he plays defense. He doesn't play defense.
Really? MVS doesn't. I get to talk about NFL Street in 2024 on the radio.
He plays
Let's
defense
go.
from the football. I mean,
He does.
defends himself.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling is exactly the type of player you would have on your roster because he is a great hard-hitting safety or something, but you don't throw the ball to him very often on the other side of NFL Street because you know he's not that reliable as of a catcher. MVS maybe just needs to go to the other side of the ball. He might be worth $11 million as a free safety.
If the
He's
Chiefs
too tall for free safety.
Yeah, probably right. I don't know.
If the Chiefs run short on
hands aren't good
defensive
enough for
backs, MVS can be back there because you know he can knock the ball away.
Sure,
that's true.
He'll get his
too.
hands on the
Knock it
football.
down.
Too.
He just won't bring it in. He'll knock it, and maybe try Joshua Williams there running the routes for number 11. Although
McDuffie in the slot.
In a complete and total serious note,
L'Jarius Sneed is running back.
When Blaine Gabbert said that there's going to be significant reps for KT and McCole and Justin Ross. What I said yesterday, and I'll stick with it, is, hey, how about McCole run the MVS routes? Because I don't remember McCole Hardman having a ball hit his hands and just drop it. Now, McCole and Mahomes weren't on.
It's probably happened.
But I don't remember it to where I can immediately come up with. In fact, my memories of McCole and deep passes are the ball sticking right in his hands and being like, oh, man, that was a pretty decent catch. The memories that people go to with Mahomes and McCole and Maato, but Mahomes and McCole is not on the same page. Of Mahomes looking and saying where Hardman should have been, and people are like, Hardman, he can't.
I remember
he can't be on pat ass all day.
Was it a jump pass against like the Chargers, the Vikings that Mahomes jumped? McCole catches it, turns and runs about 50 yards for a touchdown. I remember that.
That was against the Titans, and you know what? The one that the Bills game in Buffalo when it was cold, and McCole Hardman had one target, and that was Mahomes throwing it to McCole Hardman, went right through his hands, and that was the only target. So that is the one that pops in my head. But the last couple of years, when McCole has been, especially last year when he was having to run some of the Tyreek Hill routes, down the sideline, Mahomes hitting them, boom, right in the hands. Second level, running a crosser, an over route and catching that. I'll say this, maybe there have been some times where he hasn't brought it in. I'll take my chances now with McCole running the MVS routes.
Well, they play different positions, right? So how tough
don't care
is it to move over?
McCole's been in the offense for 5 years now, so I think he should know every single player's routes. And if you want to say, well, McCole and Patrick weren't on the same page, yeah, how many times has he thrown it to MVS where MVS was in a different spot?
You would think you've got MVS there with 6'4" height.
Very tall individual.
And you like those guys outside with speed and height. They can win jump balls. I don't remember a single jump ball that's been thrown up to him.
No, he's not a jump ball.
He's not that guy.
Well, at least he hasn't been with the Chiefs.
He's not a down the sideline guy. He's more of a the seam and the post middle of the field, that's where he drops the balls.
Well, it's weird because one of the reputations for MVS was that, okay, he might have some frustrating drops, but he'll go and make some really spectacular catches.
That's
from
been
time to
true.
time.
Like earlier this year, I mean, he made some great plays.
Yeah.
Tough catches.
Right, and it's interesting. Like the Bengals game last year, and then earlier this year, they were throwing it to MVS, and he was catching it. But as the season has gone on, it's like less and less going his way, more and more drops, and then it's just like, all right, you gotta move on somewhere else. Like my son is like, Daddy, are they done with is MVS off the team? I said, well, he'll play at least 2 more games with the Chiefs, at least 2. How much he plays on Sunday, but he'll be on the team for at least 2 more games. A couple more weeks he'll be on the team. After that, we'll see. Just take it week by week for how many more games he'll be on the team.
You need to get him finally with a good quarterback. Get him
if he just had
with a guy with credentials, you know.
If he just had that.
Hopefully, someone with a big enough arm to use him downfield the way he's meant to be used.
And a quarterback that's gonna extend plays finally.
Yeah,
you know,
one who doesn't mind being a gunslinger. Not like these afraid
Out of the
quarterbacks
pocket.
he's had the last couple teams he's been on.
Yeah, someone that just throws allegations of accusing people of being pedophiles. Just random quarterbacks like that. If you can find one like that out there,
now we're gonna have to. So what we were doing is we were doing a thing that both Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes would cover, but what you just said was a thing that only Aaron Rodgers did, just so everyone's clear.
Now I'm on the same page.
I hate to shine a light on a bit like that, but
My
in this
bad.
case, I thought it might be
apologize.
necessary just from a
You know
slander
what?
perspective. Slander.
My excuse.
Some
There's a
quarterbacks
reason.
don't mind slandering. This radio show does mind slandering.
Yeah, allegedly. Excuse or reason, Mick?
On what?
As we go to learn funniest best in the next segment. For the Chiefs and what Josh and I talked about in the previous hour of week after week they're playing these teams that have had extra days of rest. Is it an excuse or is it maybe a reason that is thrown into the pot of some issues that are going on with this team?
I think it would be a great reason if you hadn't watched any of the games. If you have, it's maybe the worst excuse I've ever heard. MVS saying the sun was in my eyes, dropping the ball against the Eagles in the night game. That might be a better excuse than the rest, the extra days. I don't. Yeah, no,
I like
I'm
that.
not. I don't buy. The defense looked prepared. Defenses looked prepared in those games. And we've talked on the show. It's always Chiefs beating Chiefs. Chiefs beating Chiefs. Never, how many games have we come away with like, you know what? The Bills really figured out the Chiefs, or the Broncos really figured out the Chiefs there. No, it's all been drops. Do your hands get worse if you only have like if the other team has 10 days rest?
Exactly. If the other team has 3 extra days rest, you
Your
actually
hands
struggle
get
to
worse.
catch the
Yes.
football.
And then if you're going to do that, then I mean, what did the Chiefs beat the Jaguars only because they had 10 days rest in
Yes.
week 2? Okay,
That's the only
did the
reason.
Chiefs lose to the along these lines? The Chiefs maybe lost to the Lions because the Lions had an extra month and a half of days of rest leading up to the week 1. If you want to go that far back,
40 days rest.
Yes, they did.
And 40 extra days rest.
That's a great.
They didn't have to go to a parade.
No.
Yeah.
They didn't have a ring ceremony.
They didn't have the draft in Detroit.
It's a great
It's
point.
They will
exhausting.
this year.
Yeah.
Next year, yeah.
I guess
Is
they're
it in
going to win. I guess they're going to win the
Yes,
Super
this
Bowl
year.
then too,
It's
huh?
in Detroit.
I guess that's just the thing you do.
If
That's
they
what
win-
they're planning on.
Dude, if they win the Super Bowl, how pretentious and annoying will it be if they bring out the Lombardi Trophy?
Make it all about themselves.
Spare me.
God, I mean, I was
a
on
franchise that's already won as much as Detroit.
I was on Twitter on draft night, and I just could not get my tweets out there enough. Just how annoying it was that they brought Lombardi trophies there to the draft for the reigning Super Bowl champions. They're just, oh my God, shove it in our face.
Hopefully
why
they
don't
do
you?
not celebrate the city at all.
No.
Yeah,
and then
no.
just put this kind of standard setup there. It could be anywhere.
Yeah, and then I heard like
It was
this,
like one of the indoor bowl games, one of the domed
That's
bowl
right, yeah.
games.
Yes.
Then I heard and this, I'm trying to get confirmation, but somebody had said that Clark Hunt wore his Super Bowl ring to one of the owners' meetings. So like,
you don't win those to wear 'em.
Reprehensible.
yeah, so I just I'm trying to get confirmation. I haven't got a second source on that. I'm
That
gonna ask
might-
David Tepper.
That might be the worst thing an NFL owner's ever done.
Yeah, and then he got a drink thrown in his face.
Hey, leave my Learn Funniest best alone. Let's take a break.
Well, let's play the stuff about Tepper and the
Oh
Panthers.
yeah, we should. We should absolutely do that. Ryan Seacrest is here right after this.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41, sports director, hanging out with us.
You can't do a Learn Funny's Best on a Wednesday.
Did it last week, too. So.
Oh.
How'd I do?
Great. It was.
Oh,
you were
really?
fantastic
Okay.
last week.
Yeah.
No, last week was maybe the best LFB ever.
Man.
Yeah.
Spent.
Do you need a little bit of time to come up with learns or
listen,
funniest or best?
Hey, we put him on a short week, and you cannot expect him to perform under
Yes.
short rest, okay?
We've had extra days of preparing for this.
That's right.
I
He
worked through
wasn't
the
here.
weekend, and he
Yep.
worked all the way through the weekend.
Yep.
I had Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off.
The show's got it out for Mick. I mean,
some would think I had Friday off, but I was driving 8 hours with 2 kids. And so that was not an off day.
I was here, but I would not have changed spots with you on your off day there. No. No.
I would have changed with you.
I'm sure you would have.
I would have done the show if you wanted to drive. That'd have been perfectly fine. I don't
God,
trust
your
you to
kids
drive,
would have
though.
had such a good time, man. I would have been playing songs with bad words in it and just teaching them all sorts of nonsense.
That's what we were doing. You kidding me?
We would have been swag surfing all the way back for 8 hours.
What do you think one of my funniest and bests is?
Excellent.
What my
Fantastic.
daughter's now saying. No.
Fantastic.
What I learned is this comes from Monday's game, so luckily we weren't on the air on Monday because I wouldn't have learned this until later on. What I learned is that here are the current NFL quarterbacks that were in the same recruiting class as Michael
I thought
Penix.
this was going to be guys who started every game this year. I thought you brought it
That
up.
would have been
Okay,
great.
sorry. I'm sorry. Set that
man.
up again.
I wish I'd have done that in the break.
I think I've seen this list.
Current NFL quarterbacks in the same recruiting class as Michael Penix Jr. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Will Levis, Brock Purdy, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance.
Wow. NFL guys.
Same recruiting class as Michael Penix Jr. That's what I learned, is there's 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half.
And this is the first...
4.5. I'm counting Zach Wilson as a half.
And this
4.5
is the
NFL
first time in
starters.
5 seasons he hasn't had a season-ending injury. Well, knock on wood. He's got one more game.
Yeah, well, I mean,
One more
I guess
game.
technically if he gets injured in the game and doesn't return, that would be a
Season-ending
injury. You know what? I'm not going to, add a little anecdote with that because it might be somebody else's learn funniest best.
Oh.
So, but your learn, Josh.
I learned this from someone on Twitter named Corey Atad. They include some things about their life this year that I think is important comedic effect and then the payoff. But they tweeted, the biggest thing that happened to me in 2023, apart from my cancer diagnosis, having my spleen removed, losing my job, writing my first newspaper story, and speaking at my sister's wedding, was learning the word escalate is derived from escalator, not the other way around.
What?
Right?
No way.
So I said, MFer from the Otis Elevator Company came up with it by plucking scala from a Latin dictionary, adding an E and tor to make it sound like elevator. They had a trademark on it, but the idiots used it as a generic term akin to elevator, so they lost the trademark in 1950. I have not done any further independent research. I am just reading what this person tweeted, and it blew my mind.
Will the MFer fight him?
It's a great question. I'm guessing the MFer is long dead, but
Probably.
that,
I mean, that kid is back on the escalator again.
It's unreal.
I hope his
Escalator
pants
was a-
get caught and a bloodbath ensues.
It was originally a brand name. Escalate only started being used in the 40s. As they noted, how did people during World War I say that escalated quickly without the word escalate?
That's a great question.
What came first,
Yeah.
elevator or elevate?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have that information.
Okay.
Well,
We're
I know
coming for
this.
next
Not
week.
a year goes by, not a year, that I don't read about some escalator accident involving some kid that could have easily been avoided had some parent, I don't care which one, just some parent, conditioned their child to fear and respect that escalator. What'd you learn, Mick?
I learned that the Allstate Mayhem guy, Dean Winters, is brothers with the long-haired Harvard guy, Do You Like Apples, from Good Will Hunting.
No way. That's his brother?
And they actually have a commercial together. You know the commercial where the Mayhem guy is playing in the backyard with his brother playing basketball one-on-one? That is the long-haired
No way.
Harvard guy, Do You Like Them Apples, from Good Will Hunting.
That's awesome.
And apparently they're both on Oz together, but I never watched Oz.
That's like a legit actual learned.
Yeah. Well, aren't these usually supposed to be learned stuff legit?
Typically, that's what we categorize them as, but that's wow, that's mind-blowing. Do you think he gets asked about apples a lot? He gets annoyed like a.
Maybe, but I mean, it's
do
been
you
a
like
while.
bananas?
It's been
actually I do.
25
cool,
years. I don't know if people recognize him. I didn't recognize him on the Allstate commercial.
That's a good point. Maybe that's why he's changed his appearance because he doesn't want to be asked about apples anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Although
I already answered it. I said yes.
His career peaked at that point. So
it did. Yes. Why are you asking me? Quite literally in the movie, I say yes.
I like apples.
I say I like them. Stop asking me.
I got a number.
Dylan, what'd you learn?
I learned from Darren Rovell that the scoring at home, finding David Tepper $300,000 with a net worth of $20.6 billion is equivalent to $1.77.
Oh, wow.
Which is less than the whiskey sour he threw on someone in this game.
It's way less.
It's
way less.
$15 less than that. Man, that's you said I learned from Darren Ravella. I'm like, oh wow, let's sit back in our chair. Let's actually see what it is.
His favorite holiday with all of his friends is coming up later this month.
Still
actually,
later, that's right.
Yeah.
What is the funniest from the weekend for you, Josh?
It all stems from David Tepper, whose net worth has now dropped from $20.6 billion to $20.5997 billion after that aforementioned fine.
Billion?
Billion.
Is he liquid enough to be able to pay that?
How much did he get fined?
$300,000.
Not 300 million. Wouldn't 300?
No, It's now 20.5997. I don't know. Somebody else did the decimal math. It seemed pretty low.
Did Darren Ravell do that?
The actual, he did not. The actual funniest for me pivots from this into the Kelsey brothers in New Heights today, talking about the concept of having a drink thrown on you and what they would actually prefer.
Throwing like a drink or like spitting on somebody is just like, I'd rather you just punch me in the face. Like, I don't know why that is so much more disrespectful to somebody. Do you think that's accurate? There's like an air of like I'm better than you in that like toss. Is that fair to say? Or am
it's
I
more of
being a little
like,
bit too harsh?
I think you're onto something. Like I'm kind of with you on this. Like it's almost like a snooty. Like I'm like, dude.
Yes.
F you.
Yes.
I'm higher up than you.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Like spitting on someone, throwing a drink on someone.
I'd rather you just punch me in the face. Let's just settle it. I don't need the disrespect. Punching me in the face out of anger is not disrespectful. Throwing a drink on me or spitting on me is disrespectful. Does that make sense?
It does to me. I don't know why.
I don't know why it does, but it does.
I wanted to save this when you were here, Mick, 'cause I just thought you'd have a strong opinion, but I think I agree with him.
I agree totally with him.
Punch me in the face. It's less disrespectful. It might not be less unpleasant.
It's gonna hurt more.
Yes. If I have stuff to do, I don't want to also have alcohol on my shirt. That's no good.
And I feel like if you're punching somebody, it's sort of just like saying that you're tougher.
Yeah.
If you throw a drink on somebody, it almost feels like socioeconomic class status
It feels
is
classist.
above you.
It does.
It's very classist.
My dad will handle this lawsuit for me.
And it's a coward's
classism
way.
is absurd. With
It's a
Tepper.
coward's way to start a fight because the next thing's coming is a punch, and you always say, "Well, he threw the first punch."
Yeah.
Well, you threw the rum and coke.
Well, was there punch in your cup?
Technically,
depends on what was in his cup.
That's true.
Rum punch.
But I think if you throw a drink on somebody, isn't that assault?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it will be in this instance if that.
Especially if it's like a margarita.
Yeah, you're right. Spitting is definitely.
You could assault and punch in one cup.
No salt in the margarita. There's no salt. The funniest, right, Mick?
Yeah, funniest
Mick,
for me. I was complaining just about all the third downs Sunday where the Chiefs weren't even throwing it to the sticks. One time they didn't throw it back to the line of scrimmage, right? I just hate that this is the Chiefs offense now. And finally when they did it, some guy replied back to me. He's like, I thought if a Chiefs receiver ran more than 10 yards downfield, they just disappeared into nothingness like the outfielders in the Field of Dreams in the cornfield of dreams.
It's such a good tweet.
They slowly dissolve.
Yes. Yeah.
I want somebody to create a video of that, of MVS running, and then the ball flies his way in the Eagles game, and he just slowly dissolves into corn, and the ball falls.
Yes.
And then against the who they play, Bengals, running on the left side of the field, the ball flies his way, and he slowly dissolves, and the ball just lands untouched because it went right through his hands anyway. I need somebody to slowly dissolve MVS out of that. That is a fantastic tweet. And yeah, that's probably right. Dylan, what's the funniest for you?
The funniest for me, it appears on US 131 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the Detroit area. That someone has already put up a billboard that just says Decker reported. and then it shifts over to the 11-4 record with a black Sharpie over it, like animation, and then 12-4 is
that's awesome.
A great billboard.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
already
pretty
up.
good.
And Lions fans have kind of, as Cynthia was saying, they are the short end of the stick on the refs a lot, and especially against the Cowboys. So this,
well, they can rely on all the Super Bowls. That was unnecessary. That
Why
was
did
a
you have
random.
the
There was
Lions
there was no
fans?
reason for that. No reason for that whatsoever. My funniest comes from the. Well, it comes from. Even though it was kind of Christmas, but it happened over the weekend. So we're taking out some of the presents of the kids that they opened up and starting to put some things together. And my son, not knowing like manufacturing or where things are made or anything like that, he looks at the box and goes, "Oh man, this is going to be pretty good. It says it was made in China."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
only the best.
what is that to do with? Huh. He saw so many boxes that were, it was made in China, and then like saw what happened. Oh, look what came out of that box. Oh my goodness, this is an iPad. Like, or this is made in China. So I'm opening up this. It ends up being like a basketball goal for their trampoline, right?
Pretty sick
I'm
again.
opening up, he's like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome. This says it's made in China." Like, okay, dude. I'm not sure that's how it works, but if that's what makes you feel better, that's cool. I'd rather it say made in the United States, but whatever. If you think that it's better, that's fine. He's like, "No, Dad, they totally saved money by child labor." So, little kids that care about.
It's just cool knowing that a kid my own age built
that's
this.
Right. That's what this is going to be really cool because a kid my own age cares more about what a kid their age is going to enjoy and play basketball with it. So it's going to be really good.
That's bleak and pretty funny.
Yeah. Best for you, Mick, besides that?
Best for me, the Toledo and Wyoming played in a bowl game.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. Barstool, Arizona Bowl. And early on, they had a touchdown called back. And it's a shame. It's almost like... almost as bad as the Kadarius Toney play called back from Travis Kelce. Did you see this?
I think
They
so.
set up a screen pass, and it bounces off the receiver's hands. I think his name was Steve out of Scantling. And the offensive linemen are right there with him, right? Because it's a screen pass. Center turns around, ball just falls in his hands. Yes. And he just runs 50 yards for a touchdown, and it was awesome. But they called it back for illegal touching, which I guess. I mean, the second guy to touch it. I don't know.
If he would have caught it and lateraled it to him, it would have been legal.
I don't know if it's maybe
Did he
behind the
report?
line of scrimmage type deal.
Did he report, though?
Or if it was tipped for. I don't know. But yeah, they said illegal touching. They called a touchdown at first, and then they huddled, said no touchdown. Then they reviewed and said no touchdown.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Should have been a touchdown.
But it was fun to see.
Okay. Dylan, best for you?
The best for me was the bet on the Cotton Bowl. If you didn't see this, that the Titans, it looks like she is a senior producer of broadcasting with them. Ashley Farrell is a Mizzou alum. And Mike Vrabel lost the bet, obviously, as an Ohio State alum, and he had to wear the tiger ears for his show. Do you know what the name of the show is, funny enough?
Buckeye
with the initials
business.
MV.
Yeah,
and the last one being show.
I think it's the Mike Vrabel show.
The MVS
It is
show.
the MVS show. So you want to get all your jokes about dropping off the air out now? I will allow it.
Wow, that's pretty good. You think often that they're just recording and all of a sudden everything just goes blank and it's like, oh damn it, we dropped again.
Picture of him in the cat ears is devastating.
There's a really awesome lead up by the host to Vrabel, and then right as it gets there, Vrabel gets like a frog in his throat, like starts coughing and just ruins the whole thing. And it was going to be so awesome. It was a great throw from the broadcaster to MVS. Excuse me, Vrabel.
Well, I mean,
my best was I had that one, so I'll just change it to Mizzou in general. I can't include KU and K-State because we had shows after that. So I did not do a show on Friday.
And you're a stickler for the rules.
Yeah,
so,
plus the weekend was technically Friday night through now. So that's kind of my best. My worst is overtime for Alabama and Michigan. That's my worst from the weekend.
Well, I lost every bet from the that'd be my worst. I lost every bet from the playoff. The invitationals in a playoff.
Feeling pretty good of the under 45.5 when in the middle of the fourth quarter it was 20-13. Feeling pretty good of 33 points. As long as there's not 2 touchdowns scored, I'm fine. All right, Josh, best?
largely it's just the existence of Joe Flacco, but the latest quote from the man himself about the environment in the locker room and how he's leading that group of guys. Quote, "If I messed up in high school, I could be some of these kids' dads." I don't think he did, so I think we're all clear there, but Joe Flacco on the Browns at this point, just a remarkable, very fun story of an old man leading a football team. 55.
That's amazing.
I don't believe that, and I do. By the way, I'm enjoying the Joe Flacco sort of storyline that's going on, unless, of course, they play him in the playoffs and then the Browns win.
It's
then
funny.
Screw him.
It takes retirement for people to just stop mocking him. And some great games. I mean, everybody's, Flacco elite, all this stuff. Not anymore. We love him. Can I change my best? I forgot.
Absolutely, yes, you can.
My best is that the Ohio State quarterback that started was wearing the number 33.
Yeah.
And then the guy wearing number 33 for Ohio State on defense was making like every tackle for them.
That's right.
So that number really had a big night on Friday.
Yeah, and it would have reminded you of 8-man football when you played both. Where there was the defensive end and the quarterback that wore the same number.
Are you ready for a true story?
Yes.
Not my normal BS.
Yeah.
My quarterback, my senior year, who was one of my good friends, still lives in town. He's a firefighter.
What's his name?
We dropped to 8-man football that year. We had been 11-man our entire existence. Embarrassingly, we dropped to 8-man. His number was 61. He was an offensive lineman the year before and made quarterback. And was like, I like this number. And so he was number 61.
Hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Good for him, man.
Yeah.
What's the name?
MVS.
You don't like your friend. That's fine. If you don't
Lineman pedigree playing quarterback is what I need. I don't need tight ends and wide receivers and running backs who played quarterback. I need a quarterback who's been in the trenches.
There's a big overlap in the small schools.
Good.
We don't have too many big dudes.
The Lions have a receiver number 68. But then they also have a number 70.
Yeah.
Not in my book, they don't.
It's also whose book are you reading?
I'm reading Brad Allen's.
That's right. There's that book. I think you're in the wrong chapter.
My book is it's very small print.
If you did not see the NFL send out a video to teams, they specifically use the lines like, well, the player must give a hand signal to his jersey and also must verbally state to the official, like, hey, NFL, you're not realizing that number 70 did neither, and Brad Allen reported him as eligible.
Yeah.
So you're saying the official made a mistake, even though you're doubling down, you dummies.
You know who's always eligible?
Who?
Nick Schaefer.
Just on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
That's right. Academically ineligible Tuesday and Thursday, mainly because he just has too many days of rest.